In a world of remakes and remasters, what was once sacred and cool has now soured and become lame. Gone are the days of Pogs and Cowabunga. Now is the reign of slurp juice and dabs. Kids these days don't even know how bad they've got it. Now it's up to the best generation to rise to the occasion and make a show that dares to go where a lot of other nerdy shows have already gone quite a bit. That's right. They're going to talk about it a lot. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is Best Gen, the show where nerds complain about nerdy things. It's called Best Gen because we all happen to be from the same gen, happen to think that it's the best, not because we as people are better than everyone else, but because our entertainment was. So get ready to wax nostalgic as we reminisce on the golden days of yore that have now... that are now a speck in our rear view mirrors. We've got so much to talk about this week. Merry Christmas, everybody, for everyone who had a Christmas. If you're Jewish, screw you. No, I'm just kidding. Happy Hanukkah, whatever, all those other things. It's the new year, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Fine.
Good. Not looking forward to writing 23.
Yeah.
I mean, It's funny, but it seems like a huge change, but hasn't really, nothing has changed. It's just one day after the end of the year. So, but I don't know why it feels like completely different.
It feels exhausting because it's been a year. It's been a year of a lot of garbage. I'm just filling up my little water. Kind of feels like good that it's over, but at the same time, like I feel like this year's gonna be equally,
Or maybe worst.
Yeah.
At least in terms of entertainment.
Yeah.
There aren't a whole lot of bright signs in the future. Maybe Dune Part 2 comes out this year, and I'll be hyped for that. I'm not really excited for anything else. Like it's gonna be a while before it's gonna be a while before we get Warhammer with Henry Cavill. I'm not really looking forward to anything else.
Mexa mentioned Mission Impossible. I don't know if that's slated to come out this year or...
I think so.
On June. Actually, June.
June? Really? They're still
this year? Yep.
Wow.
It's a two-parter.
The first
I'm not surprised, but I'm actually still excited about Ant-Man coming out and everything.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
right.
don't really care about Ant-Man. The only Marvel property that could be decent is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's the only one I even care remotely about.
Although my confidence
confidence
in James Gunn has dropped significly.
Yes.
To zero.
Due to his handling of DC or due to the holiday special?
Both. Watching the holiday special.
Well,
and
I still haven't seen the holiday special, but
I actually like the holiday special. I don't see, it was just a short little thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun.
It was a good concept, and it was I thought it was executed very, very poorly, and it was just like the same joke over and over again. I was like, okay, we get it. It
was only an hour long, not a full movie.
Yeah. No, I was very grateful that it was over.
Yeah.
Now, it definitely wasn't the worst thing I've seen. Way better than most of the stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't love it. It was fine. Let's introduce everybody. First off, me. I'm the most important. I'm me. It's my channel, and we're joined by Bearded, who's also known as Other Jared, and he's regained his honor and his facial hair. And back from a brief hiatus, my cousin Jared, right next to him, or Jared Prime. He's back from Christmas with the family, and so are we. We're joined by the Angry Mexa, our resident Mexican intern, and my brother David. You guys have your own channels, the Angry Mexa. If you're not subscribed to him, I don't know what you're doing, because he's hilarious. And if you're not subscribed to my brother's channel, I get it. Shelf Help Gaming, if you like board games and stuff. We've got so much to go over. We have to talk about all the TV shows that we haven't talked about for 2 weeks, and we have to do it within like an hour and a half, because more people will be joining the stream to talk about Brando McSando and all of the crazy stuff that's going on with that.
Yep.
So, let's just get right in it, unless anyone else has anything to plug. Is that good?
No, just don't watch The Witcher Blood Origin. That's
don't watch The Witcher Blood Origin. Yeah, let's
haven't heard good things.
Let's talk about that.
Hadn't heard anything except Mark Clark there saying that he'd seen it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know what's going on in that series, just watch my review. It's
my gosh,
the reviews are not good.
And for once, it's been a long time since this happened, but critics and audience agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time they agreed on anything.
Well, they agree more often than not, really. But
yeah, it's fun. It's funny. They're pointing out that CBR is blaming it on review bombing, and yet their own reporters are saying that it's terrible.
That's hilarious, though.
Yeah, the story was mediocre. The story was mediocre, but the reason why it doesn't have good reviews is because people are review bombing it.
Review bombing is not a thing, and even in the rare cases where there are people, technically review bombing, it's still a reflection of the quality of the show. If you get someone so passionate that they're dedicating their time to saying that the show is terrible, like you've done something wrong.
Yeah,
people don't get passionate about mediocre.
Yeah. You guys really haven't watched any of it, right? You gotta watch like seconds, like bro. I've
seen this clip, the fight scene.
I mean, that's not even the worst of it.
She can't get her sword. Look. This is an amazing actress, and who's she's not like a kung fu expert, but she's done a lot of choreography for fight scenes, and she's really good at it. Everything everywhere all at once, super spicy, right? And watch her try and pull her sword out, and they didn't say, "Hey, let's do another take." You guys can't hear the audio, right?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's better for the copyright.
Yeah, it's better. It's like right here.
Yeah, it gets caught.
Watch! It gets caught.
They probably didn't even notice.
Yeah, the fight scene it's just terrible.
Yeah,
but,
bro. They say just as a like to show how bad the show is. They say the word F, fudge.
Yeah,
53 times. 53 times in a 4-episode show.
Wow.
And they also time traveled the bard into this so that he could sing a song to hype it, right?
Not really. Just watch the first 5 minutes of the show. They explain everything. it's so dumb. It's so
I've
bad
seen-
how they
I've-
try to join the universes.
I've seen a lot of stills, and it does not look exciting. No.
Yeah.
But in other news, we're getting a third Avatar series.
Oh,
With the next iteration will be an Earthbender. That's pretty much all the details that we have. That's exciting. I didn't love The Legend of Korra, but it was fine.
Yeah.
I thought season 1 and 3. 1 was really good. 2 was awful. 3 was pretty good, and 4 was just there.
Yeah, serviceable.
I like 1 and 2 better. 3 was okay, and 4 was meh.
I think I stopped after 2.
Yeah, two's rough. Two's real rough. But yeah, I'm excited. They're cool. I'm not excited for the Netflix live action remake, but time will tell.
Hopefully, it's better than the last live action remake. That's all I'm hoping for.
It'll be hard not to be.
That's a low bar.
That's what I've heard. I didn't even watch
All,
it.
all I have to do is
coming-
pronounce the names right, and it'll be better.
This coming from somebody who, for all intents and purposes, I basically defend that because it's not as bad as most people say, but it is not good, and it is not going to be hard to be better than the live action one.
Have you guys seen this one yet?
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
So this, we wonder why the comic book industry is dying and why independent media is soaring. This is from like X-Force or something. They get captured by this bad guy in like a aquarium, and he says, "My lovelies, you're gonna be spending a lot of time there." And this is their response: "You like watching people piss, huh? What? You like pee? You're into it? No, that's not true at all. Then why can't we use clothing racks to do our business in private? It's a security concern. It's an excuse for a poorly disguised fetish. Ah, little piss boy, piss baby, pee pee boy. Witty baby loves pee."
Okay, then that's top notch writing right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Read Isom instead. I really
Isom
liked
is
it.
good.
Looking
got it for
forward to
Christmas.
looking forward to part 2. There we go. And two other little news things. Apparently, we're talking about James Gunn earlier. A lot of Warner Brothers insiders have apparently vocally expressed their concerns about James Gunn and whether he can manage the DC studios. Granted, they're part of Warner Brothers, which hasn't been doing good anyway. So take that with a
That he's going to make it worse. I think he'll only make it better, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know why you'd fire Cavill.
Or Momoa.
Yeah,
sounds like they might be bringing him back in different roles, though. At least
I don't know. Okay,
We'll see.
That's all the news.
Yeah.
That's all the news for now.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Getting updates from our guests. We've got one guest who's currently traveling and trying to thread the needle between snowstorms.
Oh.
Yeah, it's snowing
Made
pretty
it
good
to a
up
hotel. Yeah, let's talk about TV. Okay,
there.
we're in record time too. We're gonna talk about everything. 1899. Did you guys finish it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't realize we were supposed to finish it. I was waiting.
I know.
was
I know
like,
you were
hold
gone.
on,
I know.
6.
You were gone, and we were like, "Hey, we're gonna be gone for 2 weeks," and it's like one extra episode.
Well, yeah, but I didn't watch it. I need to know how it is.
Thanks, David, for keeping me updated on that.
Jared,
yeah.
I should have texted you.
Yeah,
I didn't
man.
think you were okay. In my defense, I also didn't think you were going to be here today, so I replaced your picture with Brandon Sanderson.
It's a
You
shame.
should have just replaced his picture with mine. It's a much
Yeah.
prettier Jared face. Has a
I
beard.
know. I know, David,
Nice
you
dude.
sent me a text when you finished, and you're like, "What the crap? They're fine."
Well, what's funny is I was gonna finish it anyway. I was just gonna be like,
Yeah.
man, I don't even care.
Just do
Like,
it.
I'm just gonna do it, and then I didn't out of
Should've.
respect for you guys.
I finished 3 weeks ago. I had girls who were sick, and I couldn't get any work done.
Yep. Yeah, we took a break. We didn't watch anything through Christmas or whatever, and then we just binged everything that we're supposed to watch, and yeah, that was fun. So yeah, 1899 is an interesting show. I like some of the things they were doing.
Visually, it's a feast.
Visually, yeah, it's great. I just I liked
the execution and direction are really good.
And I liked the reveals
Yeah.
at the end. That was cool. It didn't feel like it was, as far as who everybody is and their relationships with one another. I don't remember if that was in the last episode or previous one. So I'm trying to.
There's stuff like that, I know, like with the guy who's the husband.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you find out he's the husband, and the guy
and the kid is
their kid.
Which
Which
fills in with the idea of them looking like maybe future versions of themselves. It's just father son. So
exactly. So that was really cool. They were kind of playing with that, but it turned out to be a little bit different. So I love that. I love that. It was a great reveal. The last episode fell entirely flat for me. It just it did not work. And I'm not even talking about like the very, very end part.
You're not okay. I was going to ask, are you talking about the last episode, or are you talking about the twist at the end?
The last episode in its entirety just kind of it was lacking all substance, and it felt like we had already got the big reveal, and then the last episode was just kind of there. And then if you talk about the surprise at the very end, it's like, oh yeah, of course, why not? It's like of course they're
I can understand not loving the narrative of the show, and I do agree the last episode meandered a little bit. Like, you kind of already got all the information you needed, and it was just people running around. I enjoy the twist at the end. But I get it. I get if it's not for you, right?
For me
and,
too.
And all I can say is as of right now, Dark is way better.
Yeah, I do want to go back and watch Dark because just because of the praise that you've been giving it. But for me, the end twist, it's like I liked the reveal that all of
before we talk about the end twist, we
do
have to all admit that I've been right from the start. That it's a simulation.
Yes. Well, yeah, that was our number one.
That made sense. Yeah.
Although apparently it's the boy's simulation. He's like in charge of it, right?
It was created to keep him safe or something, but there was
to keep him alive.
There was conflicting narratives.
There are exactly. And with the ending, it's like, well, I don't know if that's true
brother.
either.
Yeah. So
they.
Yeah. I did like that all of these people were kind of volunteered for whatever the hell this is because of some trauma that they had in the past. I liked that angle of it. But why the freak is that the ending is just, why do you have to jump the shark?
Yeah.
Or in this case, the moon.
Yeah.
Jared, what the hell?
Jared, maybe you should plug your ears for just a second.
I was going to say, should I mute you guys for a second? You guys giving me the sign?
Just go, la, 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 la,
I mean,
about the spoiler stuff.
I haven't watched the last episode, but if you say that it's just flat and just a twist, why do we care to watch it? Just spoil it. Go ahead.
I like the twist, but I can understand if people didn't like it.
And is the twist just that they're in the future?
Yeah,
they're on a freaking spaceship.
Yeah,
they're on a spaceship.
Come on.
It doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't take away from it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because us knowing that it's a simulation, it means that world that they're in is
exactly. I think.
What are they going to call the next season? It can't be 1899 before. Is it going to be 2899? Like.
I think this is a good. This is kind of the lines that I'm going on. I think the kid is a program, or I think that he actually was their son, and like they said, they put him into the AI to keep him alive, and somehow because of his kid brain, it got manipulated, and maybe like stories that his mother would read to him, he turned the simulation into this old timey, in the past thing, right? And it does make sense though. They are on a ship. It's just in the future. So like there are tons of parallels.
A spaceship instead of a boat ship.
The twist did not pull me out. It didn't fall flat for me, but I do understand if people didn't love it.
Well, and to me, because when we first pop into her memory area or whatever, it doesn't look like it's of the 1899 time period anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, like it doesn't bother me that it's not.
The dad's is in the future too.
Yeah, and so it doesn't. It's like, it's not. Doesn't bother me that it's not actually in 1899 when they're being, because who would be able to create a simulation in 1899? Exactly. The simulation has to be 1899, but outside can be whenever. And that doesn't. That doesn't affect it to me at all.
Yeah, I'm on the same board, but then it also brings up the question: then why is the simulation of this boat? Like, what are they trying to gain from it? And it brings up a lot of questions.
Why is everybody in this civilization, if they're from the future, why are they completely okay and normal on this?
Because they don't have a connection.
I think they're all in stasis. I think they're all in stasis in an AI that somehow went rogue because of the boy's involvement.
But that'll be better.
They got stuck in it, and so the end is her getting out, and apparently her brother is also out.
Well, I'm actually curious about that. If because I watched it a week or two ago, and I wasn't paying as close attention, and I haven't been like reading up on it. But did we see another empty one besides hers?
I don't think so.
It was a little bit confusing because it didn't pan around, right? It just showed several different shots.
Yeah.
So it did show an empty one, but it wasn't clear whether that was the one she just came from or if that was a different one.
Because I had actually picked up on we'd been being told that it was her father this entire time, and then her father started telling the kid, "Oh no, it's your mom that put you in here." And then when she gets out, like there was somebody mentioned something about the brother being responsible or being involved.
Yeah,
and then when she steps
they're
out,
setting up the brother as some kind of villain.
And that's what I'm thinking. I got it as much more as like the brother is the villain. It's the brother that put them in there. So I didn't.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but then it's like, well, then what was the father for? And like, yeah, I totally understand. Like, it doesn't answer enough questions. It does answer some, and then it just creates more.
But it's set up for a season 2.
If this gives you comfort, the showrunners have said, we know how the show is ending. They're not going to go past 3 seasons.
3 seasons, yeah.
Like they know where the story's going, and so that's comforting.
That's good.
And the track record and everything that I hear about Dark, meaning that tells me that they're going to be able to tell the story well, and with it all. So.
Hey,
man, Jared, did we spoil you? Did you listen in?
I didn't like that, bro. I didn't like that twist because it was really interesting up to the point where they are in this where the father is the bad guy, the mastermind. It was so interesting because I only watched till episode 7, where they find the thing that is supposed to be opened by the key is the little triangle. And I was
it does kind of feel like they jumped a level, like that level was more interesting, like that the father was behind it, and then to go further is like
it seems like he was behind the ship aspect of it, like them being on a ship. Right. He was manipulating stuff. He was outside of where they were.
He was trying to find. He was like trying to find an exit or something,
Yeah. So. To me, it's still like he's still the villain for the most part, but then to find out that he is also a prisoner to a certain degree, like I was cool with it.
Oh man,
yeah. Well,
he's like trying to justify the villain.
I'm sorry if you didn't like it. I still had a good time, and
I didn't hate it.
I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes.
Yeah,
and Dark was way better. Now, this show could keep going and be even better than Dark. I don't know, but. Dark's awesome.
It could get better. It has potential. The whole theme is really interesting.
It's really, whether or not you like the story, you have to admit it's really, really well made. Like the direction, the effects, the acting is incredible.
I also watched the making of documentary thing about that they had on there. That is cool that they
used the volume. They used it so well.
Yeah,
You literally
you couldn't
cannot
even tell. Yeah. Another thing I want to mention that's a complaint about the last episode is just how easily the husband guy. Do we even have a name for him? What was his name?
Wasn't it like David?
Jordan
No, it wasn't David. It was
Daniel.
Anyways,
Daniel.
Daniel.
Anyways, how easily he just hacked into the code with his little slide puzzle and changed around stuff. Like anybody that's worked with any code, jumping into some code that you haven't coded yourself and someone else has coded, you can't just navigate it that quickly.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like, I just changed these values, and
maybe
now
it was
the
him.
reset that we went to the safe house. It's like,
although that being said, that is super common trope to be like, let me just hack into the mainframe here.
Zoom in,
after 10 minutes, we're in.
Enhance.
Yeah, no, I get it, but it was just a little bit ridiculous that he could immediately just interface with this foreign thing and immediately know exactly what to do to change the program. And they even said, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's inserting a virus, and then it does exactly what he wanted to do. There's like nothing, no hint of some leftover something from the virus when they reset, or I don't know. It was just.
I think that those people that were saying he doesn't know what he was doing were either just wrong or they were not liking what he was doing, and so they were like, oh no, he doesn't know how bad this will end up being, but it's just that it's not what they want. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
In my opinion, the rest of the episodes talking about because I think the one that we didn't talk about the last 2 weeks ago was the episode 6, 7, and 8, right?
Yes.
Because episode 5 for me was like the pinnacle. It was like the best episode in the whole show, and it was so awesome. I was mind blown. I was expecting, I was hungry to watch more. But then the episodes started, declining in quality. It was like there was so many tropes, like you said, the that cliche of people just typing in numbers and hacking the whole system, or the cliche of the girl being beat up and then she reaches to her right side and then she grabs a stone and bashes the other guy in the head, and then she falls somewhere else, and then she's like, gotta reach for the stone again, and she's like, and isn't the guy looking at the rock, like he's in top of her? Can he look at the rock? That was really dumb.
So. He's very single-minded. His brain is not doing the things.
And I actually really did like the way that it kept having her like fall into that and then fall out. Like that idea and her coming around, that dread that kind of felt. I felt that was really good. I liked that. But.
Yeah, the acting in that was definitely.
The acting was incredible, but it was just cliche. It was perhaps not directed the best way, or maybe written.
It wasn't as tight at the end. There were a couple balls dropped and a couple things were like, I don't really know what that was for.
I do have one more theory going forward. That the boy, they had his little safe house in her reality, but it was
flashback.
But it was under a tombstone.
Yeah.
And so I think either the boy actually did die in the past,
right,
or like he was in some coma or something like that, and they uploaded his consciousness to this AI or whatever. And
I think they're being. I think
something. I don't know.
I think they're being honest when they told us about he's dying, and so this was created for him.
Right, but I think either
maybe
he's already
dead.
Die,
could
he's
be
already dead, and then they uploaded his consciousness like as he was dying or something, or the process of uploading actually killed him, and that's his grave where his body was buried.
Because they did cut a lot to people looking at the grave, and the very first time we really look at the grave, it has on it "wake up," which I mean that was a common thread that they were wake up, everybody waking up to the wake up, but. The first time it shows wake up, but the rest of the times it's framed the exact same way, but doesn't say wake up. And I was waiting for it to have something be there, either instead of the wake up or the wake up to be back.
Instead of wake up, it just says he did.
He did. Go to sleep.
Well, I'm excited to see 2 more seasons of this. But I totally understand if it's not your thing. But I would still, even if you disliked this, I would still highly recommend Dark. It's very different. It's got the same quality, direction, and acting, and a cooler story for be announced.
I felt a lot like when we were watching Outer Range, where it's like, this is a really intriguing mystery, and it's not that I'm unhappy with where it gets to, but it doesn't quite resolve anything, and I'm kind of like, okay, cool.
But like my brother said, I do have a little bit more faith in this show just because they've said that they've planned everything out. So that gives me a little bit of hope.
And I have more faith than you because of their track record with Dark.
Right. I don't have any context for that since I have not watched Dark. So,
but I understand. I'm sorry if you didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole show. Just didn't like that very last part. The twist. But if they know where the show is going, I'm happy to watch where they want it to go. I'm really excited about it.
It's unique. If nothing else, there's nothing really like this on TV right now, and it's cool.
That perhaps the Peripheral, but that fell flat.
That was awful.
Yeah, that was really bad.
That was a convoluted mess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
the last thing that I wanted to say about 1899, and I don't know if I can say it, but it shows that they really like acid because of all the songs that they play. Game recognizes game, so I know that they are so into acid, or they tried acid in some point of their life.
And the visuals of the last episode were very
exactly. And the music is just like, you're playing Jefferson Airplane, and you're playing Jimi Hendrix. When I heard Jimi Hendrix, I was like, oh come on. Oh come on, you guys did a lot of acid, and you're just doing a story like that.
We didn't. The Peripheral
started really good.
Has really good. We've talked about it ad nauseum. The Peripheral has really good world building, but the story is pretty mediocre and really fell flat for me at the end.
Yeah,
I didn't really get what
the
point. I didn't really get what the point of anything was.
Yeah, the character motivations were as clear as mud, and even when they went and had explanation and dialogue of saying, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, it didn't make any sense because we didn't have any context. Maybe if we had read the books, we'd have a little bit more context and it would have made sense, but coming as from a group of people that have no idea what the source material is, it was a convoluted mess that didn't explain anything.
So Castle,
I didn't feel as confused, but
Castle Matt, I don't know if you've read the book. I'm always trying to figure out if it adapted the whole book or if it only did like half. Because for me, it felt like they were really stretching the source material, trying to drag their feet.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. Let us know if you've read the book.
I really enjoyed the world though. It has some cool stuff. Willow
cool
is gosh.
These are the worst two episodes, hands down.
I want to get
freaking frustrated.
I want to get through this as quickly as possible because I do not want to talk about Willow. In fact, I've been putting off doing the meme edits because I hate it so much. Last night I was like, okay, I need a little break from Willow. So I started working on I have a quick idea. I'll do a quick video on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier because that show really, really bothered me, and it's bothered me for a long time. But I watched it before I started this channel, and so I was like, I'm going to go rant on this. Turns out it turned into a 10-minute long meme edit video, and I worked on it all night. I was like, well, this wasn't a break.
Did you already upload it so I can check it out?
It's uploaded and it's blocked. So I'm waiting on an appeal before I release it. So it might be a week or whenever Disney gets the stick out of their butt. So,
damn,
it's like they claimed literally a 15-second scene from their show. Yeah, they suck, but we'll get there. It's already like a year and a half late. If I wait 7 days, it's no skin off my butt. So,
gross.
So episode 5, right?
Does anybody have anything good to say about episodes 5 and 6 of Willow?
5 is by far the worst episode.
Yes. Yeah, that was weird. That
6
was really
is almost as bad. Did they just? Why does Disney incessantly need to make evil people sympathetic? These are people.
Yep.
They're probably cannibals. They boil human skulls to wear on their faces to incite fear, and they murder complete strangers. Remember the old guy from episode 1 who is just murdered by these same people? And then she has the audacity to give a speech. All we have is each other and the fear that our masks induce, and the fear that our murders induce.
That one didn't bother me nearly as much, honestly, as the trolls. The trolls being these goofy, like, oh, well, he's my brother, and he's...
We'll get there! We're gonna get there, Jared! Okay. I'm still mad about it, though.
Those other ones, the Bone Reaver people, while I agree with most of your points there, I can appreciate there's some room for being like, okay, there's some complexity there. There's something to explore, the idea that they served her because of her keeping them from something else. Whatever. Okay, fine.
No, but they're still doing it. They're still murdering people.
Yeah, no, I know.
They're literally making pozole.
No.
Old school pozole, like the Aztecs used to do with human
It
bones.
also was quite a big switch. Like, oh, suddenly we're fine. We were scary. We were going to hurt you, but now that one of you is technically one of us, then we're totally fine, and we're going to have a strippy drug dance with each other.
Yeah.
Well, and how they did the brownies, that was weird. I was
why
excited.
were they in there? They were inside the skull people.
I know.
And his daughter is like
their jail.
Did you guys notice that weird daughter was wearing an Iron Maiden T-shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't know exactly what it was, but it looks like an old metal rock band T-shirt with some
they're trying to do the whole rebellious daughter vibe.
It looks so ridiculous. It was so bad.
There is so much talking in this show. They literally just systematically divide the group up into pairs so that they can talk about their feelings. And for some reason, there are 2 separate jail cells in episode 5.
Yeah.
And if you look at both of them, the big tooth jail, you can literally squeeze through the teeth.
Yeah.
And in the other one, it's made out of sticks this big, and you could just kick it open.
There's even a scene of Willow
or
inspecting
climb
the jail,
over it.
And it shows
and
it shows Willow
could climb over.
It shows Willow could fit through that side.
Yes,
and he's expecting.
Yes, when he's
his whole
through,
body
is you can squeeze through there. You can squeeze through.
It's so dumb. But not only so that whole scene was so stupid and frustrating. The brownies were ridiculous. Just there for the cameo and the laughs and giggles.
And nothing else.
And then so then they find out that what's her bucket redhead was a Bone Reaver, and then so we're finally in the good graces. But they leave Willow and the Prince guy in the other prison. They don't care about him. They have to escape themselves. And they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're all in good graces. Everything's good."
Literally
just
already
in the prison.
throwing a party.
One of my favorite parts too about that, in the discovery of, oh, you're my sister, is the girl that was telling her this story or whatnot, right? She had all these her hair was up in balls, right? And she's literally look at this scar, and she's holding up her hair, and I was like, wait, what are you holding up your hair that's already up? You can see the scar.
It's already in 13 buns.
Right? Yeah.
What? Also, Mad Mardigan, Indian Mad Mardigan had time to take a bath and everything, wash his hair.
Yeah.
When he was running, doing his escape thing. Yeah. That was so dumb.
So dumb.
I'm convinced after these 2 episodes that the showrunners and the writers do not care about the source material. They don't care about the show at all. They don't care about making the show the best thing. It's just a paycheck for them. They don't care.
David, it's worse than that. It's not just a paycheck. They're taking the IP and inserting their politics. It's not about a paycheck. It's not about the source material. It's about them pushing their politics at the cost of an IP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the writing and the choreography is just absolutely awful. We're comparing it to CW shows before. This is worse than CW shows. This is like the fight scene with not Mad Mardigan.
I've seen some
Bro-
good CW shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that fight with Borman and the not Mad Mardigan guy, it was seriously like the Three Stooges, just like slapping each other. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
I would say if this wasn't based on an existing property, I would just be like, huh, okay, interesting show. And because I don't have the like attachment to it, I'm still mostly just like, huh, okay, it's not amazing. I can't defend any of these things, but it's not bothering me. But because it's attached to an existing IP that you guys love, I think is where the biggest problem comes from.
I mean, forget about that. Just the whole show is. My God, who is writing this show?
Even the trolls, which
Oh
are for some reason just like super effeminate.
Yeah, right.
These are supposed to be like servants of chaos and evil, like created by evil to do evil. They try and make them sympathetic too.
Yes.
Because
goofy?
Like the evil can't even come from people. They have to farm it. There's evil juice, and that's where evil comes from in the show.
Yeah.
And the trolls are gay.
They're all gay.
At least the main one is like,
Yeah.
I was starting to like you, and I was
like his voice is so stupid when he opens his mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh,
what is this?
You're going with?
How does it make sense? Do trolls evolve as same as humans? Do they have the same vocal cords? Why do they speak as humans?
They're not. I don't think they're supposed to speak at all.
In the movie, they didn't.
If they do speak, it's got to be in a hoarse voice. Yes, I'm a troll.
Exactly.
It's not that hard to do.
Hello, boys.
Like a high school.
Are you ready for some torture sessions today?
Exactly. It's like,
well, literally in the original movie, like I remember seeing the trolls and I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are creepy and like scary, and I would hate to like run in with any of these. And in this one, I'm like, why would I be afraid of that? Because you've got a lot of hair on you. Like,
it's an absolute joke. It's ridiculous.
And I think that's the problem is they're trying to make it comical, and it's. I mean, like we talked about it earlier. Like it seems like they're trying to do this whole young adult audience, but it's
trying
not
to make it a slapstick comedy, and it doesn't
without
fit.
any
episode
logic.
5 opens up with them like running to like contemporary pop music. It's like we gotta get. It's like Avril Lavigne. Like gotta get out. Gotta get out. Being just my bad guys. Being just my bad guys. Gotta get out. Gotta get out.
Then they have a freaking high school prom sequence where everyone's
the slow dance.
In the slow dancing.
They're all paired off.
Oh my gosh!
I was waiting for Dancing Queen, bro. I was waiting for ABBA to come out.
New age, dancing. It's just like seriously a high school prom slow dance.
The Truth Berry thing was a little ridiculous too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone has to tell the truth now.
Oh yeah, we finally got confirmation that Willow is a quote aging talentless hack from his own words, and that's really honestly the route that they're going with.
Yeah.
But still, that had no consequence at all. Like he said that, and she heard it. And at first you're like, oh no, she heard it. But now you're like, well, what did that even do? It didn't do anything.
Like even the heart-to-heart discussions, they completely fall flat and are nonsensical. Like when she comes out, she's like, oh, did you know that I was a bone reaver? And like, no, I didn't know, but I suspected. Like, bull crap! What evidence do you have that you suspected her of being a bone reaver? The only evidence
is because she wanted to bone the whole time.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
But she doesn't have a bone, so.
But yeah, it's just so stupid. It's like the people write this dialogue and they have no idea what it means. They just vomit. There's vomiting dialogue because it sounds good. Like, oh yeah, I suspected. No, you get some evidence. What the hell reason do you have to suspect that your best friend that you have the hots for is a freaking bone reaver? The only evidence is the freaking tattoo that nobody knew about until this episode.
I never thought like this year was bad, right? Like it starts off with Wheel of Time. I was like, some hope. Like, oh, it started off okay, and then just gets worse and worse and worse. And by the end, I'm like, I'm hating this experience, right? And I was like, oh, well, that was a letdown. And then Rings of Power. is like just goes beyond my comprehension of how bad it is. And then Willow somehow manages to be worse than the Rings of Power.
Yeah.
I still feel
I am
worse about Rings
so
of Power. I'm sorry.
I am so dumbfounded at how bad this show is.
You haven't watched Blood Origins yet, bro.
Is Blood Origins worse than
It's
this?
worse. It's
How?
worse. Way,
How
That
on
is hard
earth?
to imagine.
bro. It's way worse, bro. Imagine
Okay.
everything bad
Okay.
of Willow.
Is there
Well,
is there- is there nudity in it?
yes,
There is?
yes.
Okay. I'll try and watch it like edited. But oh man, I don't want to. You made me watch. Oh my god, I'm mad at you. By the way, you made me watch National Treasure.
Oh, I won't even touch that.
Gosh,
I won't even
that
touch that.
episode, the first episode, is so insulting to Hispanics. Holy crap! You didn't even graze the surface when we talked about it last time. How bad that show is. Oh my! Yeah, please throw some rocks at our resident Mexican, please, because you didn't tell me the family recipe passed down for generations. The last ingredient calls for 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. Are you serious?
Bro. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I haven't checked that one out yet.
It grows on the taco plant.
Just watch the first episode. You don't have to watch the rest. It's garbage.
my
I've been
God.
watching it. I watched into the last episode that has come out, and it doesn't get better. It doesn't get worse, but the bar is so low that it cannot get worse at the first
Wow.
episode. My
Yeah.
God.
I
My
couldn't-
God.
Another
like-
thing
Oh
that
my
it's the perfect analogy though for Disney. Like they feign interest in diversity, right? But in reality, they literally do not care.
Mhm.
They care about making money and spreading their politics because they cast a main character, a Mexican, as the main character, and don't even put the bare minimum into researching Mexican culture. They Googled 2 words and slapped them together and said, this is a Mexican recipe for empanadas de tinga. First off, tinga doesn't go into empanadas. Second off, it's not made out of beef. And no self-respecting Mexican even knows what taco seasoning is because they know how to season tacos.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way,
They
empanadas.
do not care about you.
Tinga actually goes in empanadas, but they're like these long ass empanadas. They are called.
Okay. I googled for a long time. It's like I've never had tinga. I've usually just had tinga on a tostada.
Yeah, it's not empanadas. It's like an empanada, but it's like a big ass empanada. It's
Okay.
called.
Right. I googled it because I was like, I've had tinga a lot, and it's always been served on a tostada, and I love it. But I was
Molote.
like, do people put tinga in empanadas? I was good, and I couldn't find any. I couldn't even find a recipe for empanadas de tinga.
Molotes. It's called
Molotes.
molotes. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
a big ass empanada. For some reason, it's not called empanadota. It's called molote for some reason. But there goes Mexico for you. Yeah. In the 3rd episode, there's the Mexican girl is trying to like divert some security guys, and there's a redheaded guy, even more redheaded than these guys, than Jared too, and she's like, oh, he doesn't speak anything but Spanish, and the guy just speaks Spanish in the worst accent, like, oh, hasta luego.
He's a redhead?
It's like he's
He's
a
a
redhead
redhead?
with a redhead beard. It's
Hasta luego.
He's
My
like
hombres.
Hasta luego.
he's such he looks like from Texas, he's just such a Texan, and she's like, no, he doesn't speak anything but Spanish, verdad, cariño? And the other guy says, yes, hasta luego. And I was like, come on, man, who's gonna buy that?
Hasta luego.
I mean, there are white people in Mexico, but there are no redheads.
No.
No gingers in Mexico. No Mexican gingers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get like the Spaniard, descendants who look like me, except maybe
Actually.
a little less, but you can get white people like this, but not red.
I've seen Mexicans that are whiter than me, and that's saying something. But
it still doesn't make sense.
Redheads. Yeah.
On top of that, like, why wouldn't they call it international treasure? Right? Because it's not.
Yeah, I was
not about the USA.
Right
the nation is South America.
Yeah, they're hunting Incan gold. Anyway, Willow. I don't understand, like, the whole Mad Mardigan. I guess he was trying to get the Curus, but then he went through a portal or something. It literally makes no sense. It also, we still don't know who betrayed him. If it was 24 guy, or if it was Borman. It's just so silly. And
I think it's going to be the other guy, the Mormon.
And that's why he had like a redemption arc. If you saw that scene where he like gets overcome by orcs, he literally just like jumps into them. You're like, what is going? Oh, it's so stupid.
He dies, and then the orcs just hug him. They just hug him.
Yeah, it's because they want it to remain, PG. They can't tear his limbs off or anything. But
they cut the head out of a troll. They cut the head out of a troll.
This is already way past PG.
I mean, that head drop is so bad. It looks obviously like a mannequin. It's like, come on, couldn't you put a little bit more of effort in that when they cut the head of the troll?
Yeah,
and it's like,
none of it makes sense. And then it ends with, I actually liked the last scene where the only character making good decisions is the son of Mad Mardigan and Sorsha. What's his name?
Eric.
Eric. I genuinely laughed at the scene where, like, come in, and he's like, heck no. And turned around, I laughed. I was like, that's good writing. Like, that's the one scene with the only character making good decisions, and you've removed him from the show. And then some girl just shows up and he gets like a boner. Like,
bro, I almost lose my mind when they put Good Vibrations.
I know.
Oh my god!
It was just like, was it supposed to be like love at first sight?
I don't know.
That's clearly what they're trying to imply. Bro. I saw this girl and I got really horny.
Yeah, all of this modern music throughout all the episodes, the end titles included, but it doesn't fit. It is so awful.
The worst one was Sandman, though.
Yeah, they well, feminist.
At first, I didn't realize. I heard the riff and I was like, "Ooh, okay." They're doing that thing where they, just slow down the tempo a little bit, and I'm like, "Yeah." And then a girl starts singing, and I was like, no.
Feminist Sandman. Yeah, feminist. Enter Sandman.
I don't know. I thought the high school dance sequence was
pretty bad.
Even
See, that's the one that bothered me the most, because it doesn't
Crimson
bother me
and
as
Clover.
Much.
Yeah,
oh my god.
It doesn't bother me as much when it's not necessarily music that they're listening to. If it's outside of them, I'm like, okay, I can have fun with that. Sure, I'm all right with that. But when it literally in their dance, it suddenly switches to Crimson and Clover, and they're dancing to Crimson and Clover, I'm like, no.
Right?
Yeah. And no one has talked about the never leaving forest, the forest that you are not supposed to ever leave, and everyone leaves. Everyone just leaves.
Yeah.
Well, that's because she's a bone reaver.
It must have been just.
The reason why no one leaves the forest is because the Bone Reavers murder them, but they're sympathetic now.
It
all
really
they
does,
wanted
though,
is
to your point of
fighting for their freedom. It's like,
it really does, though, to your point, lend to the idea of it's not as well written. It's not very well written at all. It's not written well at all, because they try to set it up with this, like, this big thing, and they just very immediately undercut it. They're immediately like, this really dangerous thing with these really dangerous people, and boom, they're just fine. It's no problem. Like,
they just run away from them, hide behind a wall, and then go into a forest.
Does anyone know how much of this is left?
I think that. Well, no.
I think
2 episodes,
but I don't know.
It should be 2 episodes.
2 left.
Yeah. Because
I definitely agree. The modern music is pulling me out. The only time it has ever worked for me is Knight's Tale.
I was
Yes.
gonna say Knight's Tale was
because they did it on purpose and made it part of the world. Like the crowd is singing "We Will Rock You."
Yeah.
And it's freaking awesome. But it's not just that. Like the world building itself, like has anachronisms in it, and so you're like, okay, this is fun.
Right. But this is supposed to be a grim, dark fantasy, and they're turning it into some slapstick, modern romantic comedy. So I don't even know.
That's why I stand by what I say about the fact that if this didn't come from the existing Willow that had that particular grimdark fantasy to it,
if it was,
then it would be just a fine whatever CW dumb show. Like it, not well written, kind of interesting, a little bit weird stuff going on, whatever.
Exactly. I wouldn't hate it.
It's still convoluted.
Watch it. That's the thing. I wouldn't hate it because I wouldn't be watching it. But that's not the point. They want to take the IP so that they can infest it with their filth. But we've got our first guest who's come in, which means
as we're bringing them in, let me also just throw a plug out there for I finally watched Glass Onion.
Oh, good. Yeah,
very good. I don't know if anybody else has watched it. Yeah, very, very good. I really liked the very oniony layer, like just peeling off the layers of what was going on with that.
Oh, I watched RRR. Woo!
You did?
Yeah.
Good.
So good.
It's freaking good, right?
Watched it like 5 times, bro. It's so amazing.
It's so good.
Watch RRR. 3 hours long.
It's so good.
It doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter.
It's not that I'm like, but it's like I sat and watched, Avatar and all those other ones that are 3 hours long, but that's a lot of watching to watch it 5 times.
Yeah, bro. In like a week, I was like, holy, I got to really watch
that entire week. I meant to watch it. I kept meaning to. I just I wasn't able to get really going on it.
But it's like when you watch it to the 5th time, then you realize all the little things that they put, but not the 5th time, you a little bit slow learner.
Yes, Mark watched it too. RRR is so good.
I've heard good things.
Jared,
I wanted to watch it. I just never got around to it.
It's an Indian movie that is fantastic. Here's my pitch. It's like Romeo and Juliet, but with a bromance between 2 platonic friends who like kicking butt and beating up bad guys.
Bro, but you undersold it. Like, holy, the story is amazing.
It is over the top and kind of ridiculous at points. But it's on purpose because it's structured like an Indian folk tale. Like your grandmother is telling you this story that's been passed on like orally for generations. And so like it's over the top. These are supposed to be larger than life characters who are doing these inhuman things. It's like Paul Bunyan. Yeah, of course he didn't chop down 1 million trees, right? Like,
the only complaint that I've heard is that somebody like it took them out of it. They couldn't click into the over the top fantasticalness of it. That's the only complaint that I've heard about it.
Even the dance scene works for me. Mm-hmm. Like it's incorporated in the story and it's good.
The choreography of the dance scene is
really cool. Ooh. It was freaking cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's hard.
Is it still on Netflix?
All right, who we got?
We got a guest. We got our guest coming in, which means we need to start wrapping up TV show talk. But we're joined by Jordan from. Okay, let me see if I can get this right. Is Jordan from the Sanderson Institute of Cosmere Studies?
Close, Sandersonian Institute. And I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
No.
First of all, I got to apologize if it looks like that I have like like an explosion that's happening to my left. I am in my hotel. I couldn't have those lamps behind me because then no one can see me, and I am on my potato laptop with my potato everything. But it's been a ton of fun listening to you guys talk about like cannibalistic pasoli and everything here in the background while I eat my chicken tortellini.
So Jordan, you are not the sole representative of the Cosmere.
No.
There's 3 of you guys, and I met you at Brandon Sanderson's convention.
Dragon Steel.
And he recognized me as a fan. He's a fan of the show. I wasn't expecting to be recognized.
Yeah, I wouldn't have recognized you from behind, but luckily the back of your shirt had an asterisk that said technically, and I said, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was wearing my Ask Me How I'm Mexican shirt.
Nice.
So
now that's branding, bro.
It's a good walking advertisement.
Yeah, so these guys have their own incredibly nerdy channel. This is just all things Brandon Sanderson and Cosmere. Jordan, you also have your own private YouTube channel that's just you, which is mostly like gaming stuff, right?
Yeah, it's mostly gaming. It's just called Splice Stream, like
Splice
ice cream.
Yeah.
Gonna look
Oh,
it up
nice.
because I love gaming, bro.
Yeah,
Splice
so
stream.
it's mostly it's an incredibly niche area of the Smash Brothers community. We focus on amiibo combat.
Oh wait, that is so specific.
That is very neat.
And so, if you're someone who's interested in Smash Brothers and wants to, be at the forefront of humans versus really bad AI, this is the spot.
Wow.
I mean, I do love my Smash Bros.
Well,
Nice.
yeah. So thanks for joining us from your hotel. I understand you're currently like trying to get home and threading the needle between snowstorms.
It's been fun. It was a fun 12-hour drive. It was great.
Oh gosh.
Luckily, this hotel has a hot tub, so I'll be popping in there.
Nice.
Nice.
We're
I
done
think
here.
you told me you're stuck in Albuquerque right now, right?
No, I
That's where you
decided to punch through because there might be some snow.
Right.
So I'm now up in Colorado. So hence the not here at the start.
Well, we were. I was excited. We were going to have a connection because we were raised in Albuquerque, just outside, in a little town called
Cool.
Tijeras, or Tijeras. We were born in a town called
just made that
Scissors
up.
in Spanish. I don't know why. I don't know who named it. It's literally called Tijeras, and no one knows how to pronounce it. It's so funny.
Look, the number of towns you drive through that clearly were either Spanish or Native American named, and then white people have just butchered to tell them that. But I mean, I have to drive through Amarillo. You look around, it's entirely yellow, and you're like, no, it's Amarillo. But enough white people there that people got tired of correcting them, and it just stuck.
Oh, fine. It's Amarillo.
Well, one of my other favorites is there's a town south of Nevada, very south end of Nevada, kind of towards Vegas and everything, called it looks like it's Caliente. It's Caliente, Nevada, but apparently the people there call it Caliente.
Oh my god!
That's bad.
What happened to? There's a T though.
Yeah, yep, Caliente. But that's we're
Caliente.
from the area where we say mountains instead of mountains. So you drop out T's in the middle of things. Caliente.
I mean, Nevada is in Spanish.
Like I only speak enough Spanish to be very dangerous to myself and others, but even that offends me.
I will say I will take the badly pronounced Spanish names over some of the names here in Utah because these were like if you know the history of Utah, it was settled by Mormons who they showed up there first and they're like, okay, I guess we just get to name everything. And there's two towns in southern Utah that are right next to each other, and they're rhyming towns called Hurricane and Laverican. It's not hurricane, it's Hurricane and Laverican.
No, for me it's the Midwest.
Really dumb.
and that's probably dumber. Like there's also Tooele, which I don't even want to try to figure out how that's spelled because it's not how it sounds at all.
It's spelled tool, like the fabric.
Yeah. But it's Tooele. But for me, because my mission was in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri kind of area. So I was born and raised in Nevada. And there's a town in Missouri that's spelled the same, but it's pronounced Nevada, Missouri. They also have Miami, Oklahoma. Wait, no, not Miami. Miami, Oklahoma.
Yep.
And Spokane, Oklahoma. Not Spokane. Spelled the same as Spokane, but Spokane. Yeah, the Midwest is real wild with it.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right, Gojira. Appalachia.
That's super funny.
Same area, yep.
Just so you could know who the natives were. Yeah, that's how you spell Tooele.
Yeah, Toole. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Tweel. Yeah.
Tool.
Oh yeah, I guess the fabric is spelled different, but yeah,
still.
it's still you wouldn't pronounce that Tooele.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, Jordan. I've both of your channels are in the channel description, so go give them. They got there's some nerdy boys. We're all nerds here. No need to be ashamed of it. Thanks for joining us. We will start talking Brandon Sanderson very soon. I think we wrapped up most of the things we needed to talk about, though.
Yeah, I had one other criticism, but it can wait till future weeks. because it's a running criticism.
I will say I watched an entire TV show for a guest that will be coming on in 2 weeks. I think it's all set. I'm not going to announce it yet. I'll announce it next week. But on January 15th, we have another guest, and I had to watch another stupid TV show to talk about it with them.
Any spoilers on what the TV show was?
I watched all of Wednesday.
I watched all that as well.
I already watched it.
My wife is asking me to watch that with her.
Don't.
I didn't hate it, but I'm the guy that doesn't hate things here. So
yeah, I only watched the first episode of National Treasure, but I might get deeper if those videos pop off. But yeah, so I've got a video in escrow right now, waiting for it to be unblocked by Disney. And then Avatar, The Way of Water. We mentioned it last week. I watched it. I had a really good time in the theater.
We're gonna watch it tomorrow. So let's.
It was stupid. A lot of stupid things happened that bugged me, and we can get into the specifics later. But it was fun.
Did you watch it in 3D?
I liked it. Yeah.
Oh, that's
in 3D.
It was really cool. It started off and in the forest, and a bunch of vines kept going in front. I was like, this is going to get real tired real fast. And then you get into the water, and you're like, this is freaking awesome. Right? So, like, I admit, it was a stupid movie, but I was with my dad, and we were both just like having a fun time the entire time.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. I think it's worth watching. And it's doing really well. It's already passed $1 million. So
I should hope so.
Yeah. Sorry, $1 billion. It's already passed $1 billion. I don't know.
That's a different number.
I think some of my reservations from last week, I might have to rescind. I think this might have legs that I didn't think it would.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll get anywhere close to the first one,
but
yeah,
all of the stupid things that you mentioned last week are 100% there in the film. There's a lot of stupid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said though, I still hold firm to my thing that the third movie is where we're going to see.
That's the thing. I'm already sold on the third movie. I'm going to go see the third movie.
It will be that spot. Yep, that'll be the real decider that'll tell how people felt about these first two.
Exactly.
I've been hearing
I don't
like from other people liking it as well.
Yeah.
So
the thing I don't like that is going to cost, this movie is going to cost Hollywood just investing in really dumb movies and trying to make money out of them, and it's just like, okay, people complain about, you don't have to, you cannot like the dumb blonde that is really hot because she is empty, and for me this movie felt empty. It didn't have a soul. It was just a convoluted, not even a convoluted story. It was just a basic story that we see in Pocahontas and all those type of movies. It's just going to set off.
I don't disagree. It didn't really have a purpose or so. It was an excuse to show off the technology.
Exactly.
It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool.
That's kind of how I felt about the first movie.
I also thought that the story is a lot better in the second one than the first one.
Yeah. Well,
despite how dumb it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that there are more of those contrivances and weird things that wait a second, why did? But I think it was a little bit better. But
we'll break it down. We'll break it down next week when we have more time to talk about the nitty-gritty.
It's been a couple weeks since I watched it.
I had fun. I also watched His Dark Materials. I didn't even realize season 3 was out.
So good.
I want to talk about it, but today is probably not the best day. But I want to try and get someone on who's read the source material. Have you read the books?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. We'll talk about that next week. I didn't love the ending. The last 2 episodes I didn't really like. I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
Kind of let down by the ending.
I have one question about that show. Is that with Morphy Clark as well?
No.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
No, they did a really good job. If you guys heard of the Golden Compass movie that came out, It's the same story, but they call it the Dark Materials because that's the actual name of the series.
The series is called His Dark Materials. It's and
First
the
book
are
is the Golden Compass.
The Golden Compass, the Subtle Knife, and the Amber Spyglass. I might get my other sister on. She has read the books, but it's been a long time.
My only knowledge of the source material is I know my mom read it and she really liked it until the end.
My parents read it
the ending of the book
because there was the whole like Christian scare where they're like, "Oh, this book's about killing God," kind of, right? But it's not really God, right? It's just an angel that they kill. Okay, right? And so a bunch of Christians were like, "Don't let your kids read this. It's about killing God and atheism." And so my parents read it because my sister wanted to read it. So like, we're going to read it first to make sure it's okay. I think it'd be kind of fun if we got like Mom to come on the stream, David. Do you think she'd do it? She probably doesn't remember anything. Oh, Mark Luck, you've read books.
Why?
You haven't read book 2?
I gotta love Mark Clark, bro.
Oh man.
You're a legend, bro. It's like, all right.
Rocks from Mark Clark, apparently.
I want to talk about the show, but I feel like it's impossible to talk about the show without talking about with someone who's read the books, because I think most of my problems are with the source material, but I don't know if it's just a problem with the show or with the books themselves too.
Yeah. Well, I think we definitely should talk more about that.
But our other guests are in the wings and they've been waiting for a while, so we're going to bring them in.
Oh,
we're also joined by Simply Nerdy.
Yeah.
But we got 3 of them.
Oh, that's too much nerdy.
What's up?
That doesn't sound like
Thank you for the warm welcome.
It sounds like complicated nerdiness to me.
Yes.
Oh, we got look at this. Look how symmetric everything is. We had a bunch of people on the stream. It feels fun.
I was like, I see why you needed to upgrade. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I upgraded because it was Black Friday and they were doing a sale, and so it was like pay the same price but for more features. And I was like, okay.
That makes good financial sense.
It does make good financial sense.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having us on again. It's good to be back talking more
Thanks
about
for
Brandon
coming on.
Sanderson.
I'm
Welcome,
so
Steve and
excited.
Lisa, and is that Anthony on Simply Nerdy?
It's Steven,
Yeah.
Lisa, and Simply Nerdy. We brought Simply Nerdy along.
Simply Nerdy.
Whoops, forgot to change the name.
Yeah, man.
All right.
So we're just missing David. Is he going to come on or not?
No.
He
Okay.
didn't end up finishing the book. He had
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was close.
And
Rocks. Give us
I'm
some
really
rocks
sad
in the
because
chat
I'm going
for
to have to-
David from Simply Nerdy. Couldn't be bothered to finish the book and come on my stream.
Hey. He broke his finger, okay? Cut him some slack.
Oh,
that's
get an audio book. I don't have any sympathy for you.
I'm also really sad because I am a super Brandon Sanderson fan that also hasn't read Way of Kings, the Stormlight Archive yet. But I have been waiting on my copy and I have not been able to get it, and so I haven't been able to read it either. So I'm going to have to leave you guys, but I want to talk more Brandon Sanderson.
Well, then let's talk
Jared, you
about
ruined the symmetry. Oh,
let's talk about the state of the Sanderson first, and then you can leave.
That's a good idea.
Okay. I don't want to leave though.
I don't want to go.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, Simply Nerdy. Their channel is also in the description. Go look at them. They talk about nerdy video game stuff. They might have a lot in common with Jordan here. Who do you want to explain it again? Your niche for Splice Stream? Because you said it and I don't know what that is. I don't get it.
So we focus on Super Smash Bros. Specifically Amiibo combat, where you train the figurines to fight. When you have human versus Amiibo, we call it the Raid Boss Tower, where you are fighting an AI that is just reacting far quicker than you, and it's a Sisyphean task, but some people are able to beat it. But when you have Amiibo fighting Amiibo, it's more like a digital dog fighting, but without you going to jail. So it's really a plus.
That's a good way of putting it.
I like that. Absolutely.
See, that was complete
know that was a thing.
nonsense to me. That
Oh,
was like
no, that was
going to
fantastic.
mass and everyone speaking Italian, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
I think it's Latin is what they call it.
I don't care. I don't
It's the
know what it
same,
is.
bro.
That's the point.
Same.
He's only technically Mexican.
Yeah. So, State of the Sanderson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff happening.
Yeah.
I'm still really, really disappointed. I was hoping that he would give us some Hollywood news.
Yeah,
I agree with you,
Dragon
Jared.
Steel, so
I
I thought
totally
he's saving
agree.
it for Brand. And because my birthday is also on his birthday, I was very disappointed it didn't come out on my birthday. But I was like, okay, it's fine if he needs to line up some Hollywood stuff. And then he didn't even have Hollywood stuff lined up. So I'm like, dang it, come on, Brandon.
I like how he said it, though. He was like, if I was going to make an announcement, guys, it would have been at the convention, not in my blog. Okay.
What are you talking about? It's just his blog, but it's his freaking State of the Sanderson. This is his thing. Come on.
It's not just any blog.
It's his colas head munching day.
It's still like super reassuring. Like it's not an if, it's a when.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so cool. No one has ever there's never been an author in his position who can say no to Hollywood. He's like, I hold all of the cards, boys.
And not only Hollywood, he said no to Audible too.
He's
That's
freaking
huge.
He's taking on Amazon right now. This dude has
and not only can he
cojones
say
of
not only can he say no to Hollywood, he has worked with them enough to be able to know what he is doing and not just be some writer trying to write like an author for a book that's trying to write a show, because those are different mediums. He's worked with shows, and he also is smart enough to know to like recognize what he can do and what he can't do, you know.
He's come out and said how much he disliked the Wheel of Time too. When he was talking,
I mean, he says it very politely.
As politely as possible.
Sure,
I don't know if you heard his podcast where he was talking about Rings of Power with Dan.
Oh, that was so good.
And Rings of Power Dan rated it like 8, and he's like, an 8? He's like, I think it's worse than the Wheel of Time show, like implying that like that was pretty low too.
Yeah.
But he's got that experience. He's got that firsthand experience of working with Hollywood and having Hollywood not listen to him.
Working with Amazon.
Exactly.
Right.
But working with them and having them ignore his advice. So like he knows that Hollywood will screw you over, and he'll hold all the cards. And we're going to get an adaptation, and it's going to be faithful to the books.
He's friends with also Orson Scott Card, who has also had Hollywood stuff adapted and that have tried to mess with his story. Because I really looked into when the Ender's Game movie came out, which when he looked into the first time that they tried to adapt his movie and all the things that they tried to take from him, which made him make it so that the one that did come out was at least that much better than it could have been. But like he's got all this experience and exposure that's going to make it so much better, I think.
I liked the movie. I think it's an almost impossible book to adapt perfectly. Yeah. I think the movie did the best it could.
I can go off on a tangent on that, but I won't, because this is about Brandon. So I call myself a Sander evangelist. So yeah.
No, there's something to be said about all that, though. I mean, you don't have to go far to find poor adaptations in Hollywood going back, to literally like since like the dawn of Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it from amazing, writers from all different areas of authorship. Because I mean, how many Stephen King bombs are there for a Shining? Yeah. But and it's just, and so you look at it. I like that he's taking his time and he's waiting for the right situation to come up. A couple of years ago, he had an interview with Shad Diversity, and Shad broached the topic of what did you think of Last Jedi, because that was topical at the time. And Brandon was his usual, very middle of the road self. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said that I thought was very interesting was, here's the thing, I'm wanting to adapt some of my stuff. I might need to work with people who are in here, because if someone comes to me with an idea I like, I don't want them to have been turned off because I said their stuff was awful here, because every movie is this big collaborative effort.
And he's so nice. He's so nice to everyone, even people he doesn't like.
It's not just it's not just paying lip service. Like it's a good thing,
Yeah, well, but like to one of your earlier conversations, you were talking about how you said you liked The Glass Onion. That's Rian Johnson. That's the Last Jedi, and it goes to show, just because someone does something you don't like, it doesn't mean they like. It could be that's a bad situation. Maybe they didn't have the right budget. Maybe they didn't have the right team. Maybe they didn't have the right producers. Because movies are such a collaborative effort, you don't know what the situation is.
Yeah,
And so I just like that he's taking his time.
I like most of Ryan Johnson's stuff, and if you look at all of his works, like it kind of goes to show, I think it was more studio interference that made that movie suck than his writing.
Yeah, we talk about
it could have been him too. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
It could. I mean, it could be a toxic, combination. Who knows? But the point is, Brandon's waiting, and I love that. Like the longer he waits, I actually think like the better the situation will be, because not only does that mean he's waiting for the better opportunity, I think he's also like technology is going to move a little further to maybe we can get a little better, adaptation here or there.
Seeing what they did with 1899 and the volume, you can make Mistborn perfectly. Like, and that's always been one that's in my head. I've been like, it's the perfect screenplay. Just take the book and turn it into a movie. You don't need to change a whole lot, like in translation. But the world building is going to be super hard to show on screen. Except now, I think it'll be easy.
The one that I've been saying that I really want to see is Warbreaker, because I think that the playing with color is going to be so cool to see on screen.
Amazing, yeah.
And more as I've reread some of his stuff, I love Warbreaker more and more every time that I get into it. So
it's his best book, absolutely.
Second.
But I agree. He's waiting. He's taking his time, and what you said earlier, even though he's always super polite and doesn't want to offend anyone in Hollywood on the off chance he has to work with them in the future, he's now in the position where he doesn't need to be.
Oh yeah,
like he doesn't need to be polite anymore, and he still is, which just goes to show you what the kind of person that he is.
B money.
Well, B money is not so nice, but
B
money walks around with Black Lotus cards.
B money. Can he at least though tell us which streaming service he chose to work with, or what studio he chose to just give us a bone of some kind?
I don't know.
It's okay.
I prefer just wait and let them all twist in the wind.
It's torture waiting for an adaptation because I want it so bad. But Jordan, you're absolutely right. The longer he takes to get all his ducks in a row, like we had a Brandon Sanderson stream devoted thing several months ago, like 6 months ago or something, and we talked about our dreams for adaptation and that sort of thing. And a potential, shared universe, like a Cosmere universe. And that requires a lot more than just, hey, let's adapt Mistborn over here. Let's adapt Stormlight Archive over here. If you want to do these all together, because there's several characters that jump back and forth, right? They cross over. And if you want it to be continuity, you have to plan those at the same time. So it takes a lot. So it depends on how... Yeah, it depends on how in depth we're gonna do all of this.
So. Without getting into the specifics of the Lost Metal, when I was reading that book, I was like, "This is like the Avengers, like the level of like crossover and like cool stuff that was happening in that book." I was like, "If this ever gets put on screen, like people will lose their minds. If we get a shared universe that builds to a book like the Lost Metal." I can't even imagine how freaking cool that would be.
See, and that's how I felt reading. I haven't read Lost Metal yet, but that's how I felt reading Bands of Mourning. I'm like, oh my gosh, things are finally coming together. It's amazing. I love it.
I feel bad though, because even though he's great at all this, and you get that with Bands of Mourning, and part of it is because I haven't read the Stormlight Archive, but so many of these go over my head when I'm reading the books. And I see it later, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So like the other one that I've been hearing about is Secret History. A lot of the people that show up in that, and that one makes a ton of sense because it's very much more obviously connecting Cosmere stuff. But I'm like,
up until this point, they were meant to go over your head.
Oh yeah,
they were supposed to be hidden, and now he's like, I don't care anymore. Let's do it.
And maybe to clarify, I wonder if because even Secret History is another one that I think for me it went over my head because I don't know these characters that he runs into, for example, but they're ones that people will know. And I'm assuming, and I don't know, maybe you can, without spoiling, is it along that same level of Secret History where there are characters that if you know them, you recognize them, but it won't take you out of it if you don't, right?
I think it adds a lot if you know them,
Mhm.
but I still think that it stands on its own fairly well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And that's
Yeah,
what I'm
but-
expecting, and that's what
It's a
I mean,
bonus.
that's always been his thing.
You
yeah.
don't need to know the secrets, but when you do, you're like, oh, that's cool. It doesn't affect the story. It's just kind of like a, ooh, yeah.
Mhm.
This is a good
Yes.
question, and the answer is both. Like there are some that
It
would
is.
be better as movies, and some as better TV shows. Like
To-
Stormlight
to- so-
has to be a
to-
TV show.
Well,
I
so
agree.
actually, to Gojiro's point, Brandon's actually talked about this specifically. So for those who haven't read the first era of Mistborn,
Yeah, Mistborn is
the
movies.
the first one. Well, so Brandon doesn't agree.
Really?
He wants him to do a mix. With book one being a movie.
What?
But book two is a political intrigue story that he doesn't feel would
Oh,
adapt
yeah.
itself as well to a film. And so
Right,
his says his dream scenario is movie, but series movie.
That's-
That's ooh.
That's
That
an
could-
interesting
that could
take.
work. You know,
I,
and
I,
agree.
I would think
If you
if
just-
anything
if
it would be
you-
a movie to kick off the series, and then the rest of it be series. But you're saying he
Yeah,
wanted
so-
to do the third era,
third one works
the
as
third
a
one in
movie.
the
Now,
original trilogy. As
Granted,
another movie?
Brandon has jumped around all over the place over the
Sure,
years.
as
so-
he tends to do. He never
Yeah,
gets
well-
sidetracked ever.
No. Well, and no, never. But
A little
more
better than George
importantly-
R. R. Martin at actually finishing things.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, so,
You guys
but
watch-
the
you-
Or Name of the
You
Wind.
guys
dude.
watched my video, right? Yeah.
Which one?
When I was at the convention,
That
I
was
was
good.
On
That
I
was-
was on
yeah,
the Q&A.
it was a great
I-
question. It was.
I thought it
great
would be
question.
funny. I just wanted to make him laugh. I was like, how funny would it be to go up in a Q&A and ask him about someone else's book? And then I was like, well, the obvious answer is ask him about the Kingkiller Chronicles, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's a good
that
question.
was good. But it gets to a big part of adaptation. I don't remember who. I wish I could credit them. They were talking about how you got just if you're ever going to adapt something, you got to ask, why am I adapting it to this specific medium?
yes.
And the example that they gave that I'd never thought about was Arkham Asylum. And it's like, why make Arkham Asylum a video game instead of a movie? And the answer is the interactivity that's in that game, especially
supposed to
with
be
the
a video game.
the scarecrow sequences. You can't do that in any other genre.
It
That
wouldn't
is
work
something
as a movie.
specific. And I think that's a problem of a lot of adaptations, especially nowadays, is that people, to quote Jurassic Park, they never stop to ask, should they? They just
Right.
want to go do it. And because there's always something that gets in the way. And so if you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, it won't work. And that round hole could be the medium. It could be you're trying to jam a message into it. It could be you won't let go of something that only works in books. And you're just like, oh no, I got to get this into the film. It's like, no, it doesn't work in the film. You got to let it go. You got to be in any story, any creative work, you got to be willing to kill your darlings. And I just think too many creators aren't willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say as a fan, and this is one of those things that again speaks to the idea of my answer to Gojiro's question. I want to say TV series for them all because it could give you a chance to dive into every little piece because you have more opportunity to do that than you do in a film, and you're more likely to need to cut darlings for a movie because of time and constraints and things like that. But that's that struggle of me as a fan. I want it all, but I recognize what you're saying absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I want to talk about this wacko Mistborn adaptation idea. Logistically, I think it could work. The first book is obviously a movie, right?
It's a classic heist film. It's perfect.
And I think
and it's a self-contained thing. If
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
don't want to go on and finish the rest of it, that's fine. They watch the movie, that's fine. But then it's like, oh, you like the movie? We're doing a TV series that continues the narrative.
Okay, and
Brilliant.
the third book is probably better as a movie as well. I think the problem is unless it's like made for a streaming service specifically, like Netflix, you're going to have people who go see the first movie in theaters, don't watch the TV show, and then come back for the. Honestly,
that's the problem.
You could probably skip the second book and get most of the important information just watching the first movie and the third movie.
Yeah, but I don't.
That
think
might
it
even
works
work
there.
if those go to
it just
theaters.
seems weird to mix mediums within the same property. To me, at least. I don't know.
I agree with you, Jared.
Well, there
I
have
can-
been several movies that kick off TV shows. That's been done
Yeah.
several times in the past. And
Yeah,
I
but
think
then
that
to
works.
go
back and forth.
but then
to go back, that's
to
the
a
weird
movie.
part. Yeah.
I can see that. However, this might be a weird comparison, but I'm a fan of How to Train Your Dragon quite a bit.
Mhm.
And so they had the first movie, and then they did
It
have
was a
like
TV show.
a TV show, Writers of Berk or something, which
Hmm.
you didn't need to watch, but it had some fun story in it. And then later on came the next movie, and so
Yeah.
it is somewhat
Unfortunately,
rare, but it kind of
the only one
Yeah.
that is good in that entire franchise is the first movie. Everything else is meh.
I don't know.
second
I don't know about that.
I like.
I don't know. I hated the second movie. It bothered me
Come
so
on,
much.
bro.
I don't even think I got to the third one. I didn't
The
hate
absent
the
mother
second one.
just like comes back and the dad dies and they don't like even care about it. You're like, even though
Was there-
your mom was gone the whole time, we just you didn't do anything wrong, Mom. You're loving the dragons. I forgive you for not being there for me for 14 years of my life. It's so stupid. I hated it.
Was there a
Exactly.
third movie? There was.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
was,
and
and I
I
only
had
know it
mixed
for
just
feelings.
those two series. I think they've had a couple of different, like besides the Riders
Was it
of Berk, I think
Dragon
they've had a couple of
Riders
those, yeah.
one? It's
Yeah,
all
there's
about
been some other
racing
TV
and
shows
training
after that,
I've
dragons
seen
or
a couple
whatever.
of episodes of some of those, but I think I've only seen the two movies.
I mean, but those are kids' movies, you know.
Sure.
Huge
Kinda.
silence.
I
I
will agree.
like it.
The first movie though is so
How dare
good.
you come on our stream?
No, I will agree. I'm more excited for his Brandon Sanderson's book announcements than for the adaptation. But if he gets an adaptation and if it goes, if he just becomes more popular than he already is, like
He has
Here's
the
what I'll say
power
about
right
this.
now to fix Hollywood.
he does.
Hollywood is so
Yes.
broken right
Yes,
now.
they are.
It's
Absolutely.
so bad. We get so few good adaptations
Of anything.
of anything anymore. They just completely tear it down and just use
Or-
it to make a quick buck and interject their stupid
Okay.
viewpoints and politics into it.
No, but look, the whole point though is the fact that Brandon has bucked the odds at every single layer of his career.
Yes.
And the other thing is the hit rate for Hollywood on adaptations has always been bad.
Yeah.
I think we look through it with a little rose-colored glasses
True.
because
But
we
it's-
only
It's
remember
been
the
worse recently, though.
Yeah, it has.
It's
They
been
don't
worse.
have a good. They don't have a good hit rate right now.
You have a
And
point.
it's-
Yeah. The track
And so,
record's not.
but no, it's. I mean, again, I just go back to Stephen King's catalog, and apparently he hated Kubrick's Shining, which I don't understand.
And
but
that is the worst opinion he could.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best movie.
Out of all of his bad opinions on Twitter, not liking the Shining movie is the worst.
Yeah.
but that this gets to good talking about killing your darlings because Kubrick completely changes
Yeah.
the ending of the book.
Because it was a different medium. Yeah.
Yes, but King, in trying to adapt it, didn't want to kill that darling because that was what he really wanted, and
Right.
it just shows how even the creator, like because Brandon's writing, he has done his own screen treatment for the Mistborn film.
Right.
Now, once he got the rights back,
He's
And-
talked about changes he's making to his own stuff too.
yeah. Because when he wrote that story originally, he was a weaker writer than he is now. But he's also fully aware, I'm not a screenwriter. This could be a different thing. And he's even acknowledged, this could go horrible. And if it does, it could be like the World of Warcraft film where we're like, that wasn't very good. But it doesn't diminish, how good the actual books are.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I'm interested to see what he'll do because, I mean, at this point, Brandon's just like, man, I took on everyone telling me I can't do epic fantasy when he started, and that worked out. And he's like, I'm going to
A
take
shared
on
universe when people
yeah,
told him not to do that
can't do that. People
Pre-MCU.
told me, yeah, and then he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to take on the publishing industry and do my own Kickstarter. And you know what? Why don't I throw a little shade at Audible at the same time? It's just like I'm just hitting home run after home run. Why doesn't he think he can't succeed at anything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His team is bigger than ever. It's like go
He's an
for
inspiration
it, man.
for sure, man.
Yeah, the other thing I like is that the Kickstarter proves that he doesn't need
Yes.
to give in to Hollywood's demands and stuff like that.
That's absolutely the way, because even before the Kickstarter, he talks about how like Hollywood came knocking before the Kickstarter, and he was already in a position where Hollywood wanted all of his stuff, and he was successful enough that he didn't need their stuff.
And then the
just in
Kickstarter
the general sense, and then the Kickstarter hit.
Yeah,
And then he had all the major streaming services knocking on his door.
Mm-hmm.
I think the answer is pretty clear. It needs to be on Paramount Plus, exclusive streaming.
No, Peacock.
Yes, Peacock.
Honestly, though, Paramount is the ones that have been doing well with, because they're the ones that did Top Gun Maverick. You know, like they're a good company. You know, they don't have the
Paramount Plus.
And the.
I mean, they had the Star Trek.
They did Halo.
Oh, and Star Trek Discovery.
I didn't watch that, but I've heard a lot of bad things about it.
Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery.
As someone who loved the games, it's clear that they don't get the point of like the character Master Chief. And it's just like
I'll just toss this out there. One
hasn't
thing
had a
I've
bad
heard
one?
that it makes a lot of that. Apparently, it makes a lot of sense that show sounds like it was actually created as a Mass Effect show, and then they decided to slap a Halo skin over it.
Even Mass Effect,
to counter my own point about Halo, Brandon wouldn't allow that. He wouldn't let them do that. And so
because he's in that position. Good for him.
Up until a few weeks ago, I probably would have said HBO, and now I don't know anymore.
Oh, because of the James Gunn thing?
Yeah.
Well, James Gunn's not in charge of HBO
well,
at all. Like,
also, they're just broke now, so they can't afford. They can't afford to do it right.
But they're streaming with or they're teaming with Amazon again. So
that's a bad thing.
Well, I mean Amazon obviously Amazon did Wheel of Time and Rings of Power, but they've also done like Legend of Vox Machina, and you know, it's
that's distribution.
They're just distributing Legend of Vox Machina. They didn't. Their filthy hands didn't touch it. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if it goes with Amazon after what he saw happen.
Exactly.
Wheel of Time.
Well, I think especially after his comments about Audible.
Yeah. No, I think he's kind of dropped the gauntlet. Sorry, Amazon, I didn't choose you.
Nope. So we know that for sure. We can at least cross them off the list.
Probably.
Well, but I like how he approaches it, because
even when he does it, he's nice about it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm saying this because I want you to do better. I'm not. He doesn't even like.
Because I think that he means that genuinely, and that's why I don't even think that we can definitely say no, Amazon, I'm not going with your streaming service, because his issue is with Audible and the way they're doing things with the publishing, with publishing those individual
If you haven't read the State of the Sandersons specifically, he spent a large portion of the State of the Sanderson talking about how he doesn't like the split Audible gives to all authors, and he compares it to Steam, which does like a lot of digital goods. 70% goes to the creator, and then they take a 30% cut for having the marketplace. Fair enough. You provided the marketplace. Audible is at 40% for a purely digital good, and it's one.
As long as you're exclusive.
Yes, as you're exclusive, and if you're not exclusive, it goes down to 25%. And and this is the thing that gets me about this is because Brandon's very diplomatic about because he is calling them out, but he's very diplomatic about it because in a lot of ways, Audible's our fault as consumers. Because we like the convenience of everything being at one spot. And so we formed a natural monopoly that is Amazon taking advantage of it. Yes, but they're literally a soulless corporation whose only job is to stack money as high as it can go. And so what did you expect to happen?
Right.
And so the whole thing is I like him because I assumed Amazon was probably taking advantage of their dominant market position because, again, it's a soulless corporation. I didn't expect it to be almost half as much.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Is what it should.
That was a surprise.
And what's even more honorable about, I just look up to Sanderson so much. What's more honorable about this is it wasn't his fight. Like it wasn't affecting him. He had a better deal with Amazon. Like he straight up says it. Like, yeah, people give me better deals because I'm famous.
Yeah.
And he's like,
This is
I'm
for
literally
independent
only
publishers, yeah.
doing this for indie authors.
Exactly.
Well, and in particular, that idea of saying like, "Hey, I'm not even saying I'm not going to." I've worked with Audible. I've liked working with Audible in the rest of the way that they treat me, and I'm not even saying I won't put these books on Audible in the future.
Right.
Just not now because I want to drop this gauntlet and say, "Look, we need to provide other opportunities."
Well, and
so
he even talks about with Speechify. He's like, they tried to give me a better deal too, and I
100%.
said no. What is wrong with you, Brandon?
$42 million
He's like,
on
he's like,
Kickstarter.
is this he said, is this the same deal you would give an indie author? No, I want to pay you more money, please.
Brandon.
Thank you.
Well,
So
and this
good.
is just another example of him being so awesome, because wasn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the Kickstarter did so amazingly well, didn't he like do this whole stream where he funded other Kickstarters of authors?
Yes, yes, he did.
Every single literature Kickstarter that existed at the time.
Yeah, it was so
Every
cool.
single
Funding
one,
to them.
fully funded.
Fully funded
It's
a lot of
crazy.
them. Yep.
And
Highlighted
you
many of
never
them.
hear about stuff like that happening ever.
No, you don't. Nope.
Yeah.
Let alone on a live
All-
stream.
All in
Yeah.
the face of people calling him privileged for making so much money for his product that everybody wants.
Right?
Yeah, that was
Like
ridiculous.
people were
Those articles
criticizing
were
him.
Disgusting.
It's like, oh, how dare Brandon Sanderson make so much money? It's
Yeah.
like,
But that
no,
did not
he's
carry very
literally
far because
giving
everybody
all
who
the
takes
authors.
even a half second to look at it, they see, oh, he is not
exactly
the kind of person that we need to be attacking. You know.
exactly.
No, exactly.
He's
Yeah.
done
Well, but-
so much for the industry.
But
Mhm.
but that's what Brandon's so good at, is he takes something that could be a negative situation and he says, you know what, let's do something to highlight someone else, because Brandon is he's a very grateful person. Gratitude is a great disinfectant for a lot of bad emotions. And it's clear he's very grateful because he recognizes the opportunities he got that a lot of authors didn't. Like, how many authors are going to get to finish something like The Wheel of Time?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
no
well,
kidding.
he earned that by being a huge fan, by defending his writing, by having his writing where it is. It's like, that's true. He still was the beneficiary of that, and he's grateful for that. And so he's trying to pass that down.
Yeah. No, he
100%.
has gotten lucky, but it's no way undeserved. Like it's also his track record, the way that he interacts and treats his fans, the fact that he releases like 6 books a year. Like,
You know, kidding.
like you cannot say, oh, he just got lucky. Yes,
Yeah.
he did get
And-
lucky, but he deserves like every like he's just.
and-
But he also
accomplished
struggled too. I mean, his first book
Yeah.
that was published
I think it
was
was
his
Was it
13th
15th?
book
No,
that he
13th? No? Yeah.
submitted. And he finally got Elantris published. It was his 13th book. He was rejected 12 other times.
Yep.
And
The other
that's kind
thing-
of typical for a lot of authors. They're rejected time and time
Yeah.
again. It hasn't
it's
been
hard.
easy all the time.
The other thing I find that's so cool about Brandon is I actually think the part of him that will have the biggest impact potentially are just his lectures that he just posts for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and you've
Yeah,
also
man.
got writing excuses as well, which is an amazing resource. I haven't been
Yes.
watching or listening lately, but I listened for years as more just as a fan of writing, as somebody who, as a kid, reading books, wanted to be an author because that was the cool thing. But like, I'd love to write, but more, I just loved hearing him and the rest of the people that are on there talking about the writing and the different ways of telling stories. It's
Yeah, no,
so
he
awesome.
makes me
Yeah.
want to write books. Like I've always had
Yeah,
ideas for
same.
stories, but I'm not, I don't have the time for, or
Mhm.
I'm not skilled at it. But every time he talks, he makes me want to, maybe I could
Yeah.
get one book in,
It's very inspiring.
Absolutely.
So going
Yeah.
back,
I
going
think
back
it's-
to the audiobook thing. Sorry. Which I assume you all backed the project, or at least a lot of you did.
Yeah.
I got the- I
Where
got the
are you
few.
going to cash in your audiobook?
I just downloaded the file directly because I have an app that I use on my phone that I already
Can
have.
I'm going to scoreboard everyone. As I have been stuck in a car for 12 hours, I am in chapter 40 of Tress.
Dang.
And
Dang.
look, it's a 12-hour drive, and I'm sorry to those
That's
of you
fair.
who are partial to New Mexico, but Land of Enchantment it ain't.
No,
And-
no, I know.
I hear ya.
We-
I used to
we
get
know.
so offended.
We know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to get so offended when people would call New Mexico a desert. I'm like, excuse me, it is a high tropical desert. It's not It's not Arizona you're talking about. No, it's a desert. I'm sorry. After living elsewhere, it's a desert.
Especially out here in California, that beautiful place out here.
Yeah.
Nowhere else compares to
California, Arkansas.
No, I just remember as a kid, we would go up to Denver for our summer vacations, and we'd always have to drive through New Mexico for a short little trip. And literally, you'd be driving through New Mexico, everything is the same colors of yellow and brown. Then you see a sign that says, "Welcome to colorful Colorado." You go crest over a hill, and suddenly green, verdant, purple mountains majesty. I'm convinced Colorado is dropping Agent Orange at the border just for this effect.
Yes. Literally, you see the sign, and you're like, "Oh, we're in Colorado." What? We're
So
in
maybe
Colorado
it's
now.
dramatic of a shift, but I mean, I grew up in Reno and then driving out to Utah to visit, and so it's just the same kind of just mind-numbing desert. And that's what I do on my drives when we go out to visit people in Utah. Is I'll stick on some audiobooks.
Did you go up through Durango? Is that like from Albuquerque to Durango? Is that
no? That Reno is straight off.
I was asking Jordan.
He was asking Jordan.
Oh no, I was coming from Texas, so I come through through Albuquerque and to Temecula, that area.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, but to the original question before I sidetracked us with geography talk, was I've been using Speechify. The Speechify app has been good to me so far. No real complaints. I am going to be interested to see what happens when we start getting other audiobooks as they're breaking more into it. But so far, no complaints.
That's nice.
It
started off as a text-to-speech, right?
Yeah, and I use that feature as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're branching off into audiobooks now.
I actually don't have any particular specific intentions of who or where I want to do my audiobook through, because what I really wanted was the physical book. So that's what I'm really waiting for, is the physical book. I've actually found I work really well with listening to audiobooks, but I grew up such a fan of reading that I want my first experience to be reading.
Oh yeah, no, I get my books read to me like a proper Vorin man.
Nice.
One who can afford a monthly subscription.
Yeah. Well, I was planning on doing Speechify until he said that it's not available on Android. So I don't swing with Apple.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, so I'll probably go the Spotify route.
That's what I did as well. I chose the Spotify. Yeah. I did everything else on Spotify, so I was like, hey, I was excited when I heard that they were going into audiobooks. So
yeah,
I think everything one place.
But you get a code for all the formats, don't you? When
you do,
yeah,
yes,
yep.
Once Speechify releases an Android app, I'll be more than happy to switch over to that, because that sounds interesting and a good cause and everything. So.
This is another cool thing about Brandon, though. He asks everyone honor policy, please only use the one. But if your goal is to actually diversify the audiobook market so that, Amazon does have to compete a little bit, this is what you have to do. And he's perfectly willing to know that not everyone's going to, do the honor code. Some people will spread this, far and wide. But it's a price
I have the
he's
direct
willing
file.
to pay.
I could share it with anyone.
Yeah, he's perfectly willing to eat that cost, because what he wants is there to be more people who enjoy fiction, because he wants to unite instead of divide.
Right.
So cool. My word. Anyway.
Well said, Jordan.
Amen.
Yeah.
No, Brandon's a remarkable man.
I will say the first 3 Stormlight books I read physically. And then I realized it was like sinning, right? Like if I'm a man, I shouldn't be reading. I shouldn't be reading these books.
You can be like that.
And Bearded, he just has this look of, what are these people talking about?
Yeah, I guess
it's blasphemy.
I guess it's time he better top off.
It's a Stormlight thing.
Men aren't supposed to know how to read. So the 4th book I listened to mostly because I had to speed read it to get ready for this show. And I kind of liked it better, except that you don't get all the pictures.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and look at all the pictures. I have the book too.
Yeah.
Just to explain myself a
in
little
our
bit as to
podcast,
why
we've done it.
Just to explain myself a little bit, and most of you guys have heard this, but as to why I haven't read the Stormlight Archives is because I realized I like to be able to pick up on as many details as possible. So my history is when the Harry Potter books were coming out, I was so excited for the next one that I'm like, oh, I want it to be fresh in my mind. I'll reread the first 3 books. And then the 4th book wasn't out yet, so I had to reread them again, and 6 times before the 4th book came out. And I can't do that. I cannot do that with the with those cosmic with the Stormlight Chihuahua killers.
Exactly.
That's
the same reason.
I discovered that I can review via Audible or via audiobook, not Audible. But then I'm like, I am definitely reviewing via audiobook because that is going to be amazing, and I can actually now do that. I can trust myself to get into Stormlight and not feel like I have to reread 6 Bibles in order to get to the latest book.
Yeah,
that's a good way to describe it.
I'm absolutely in the same boat too. I have intentionally put off Stormlight until the 5th one is released, so I can read them back to back because I am a slow reader.
Oh, that's so good.
and I know I'm just gonna forget details or whatever. So I'd like to have all the 5-book arc right in front of me and read through them all. So I haven't read anything else. But
when I was first introduced to Brandon Sanderson's work, I was told you can either read this 3-book series that is already out, or you can read this 1 book that has a second about to come out. And I'm like, ooh, let me go for the complete thing. And then, of course, I found myself trapped in the exact same loop because he had the Wax and Wayne series starting to come out. And then I'm like, no, what's going on?
I know,
here?
and the only reason I started Wax and Wayne is because I thought it was a trilogy, and then I finished that one. I'm like, dang it! There's more. There's more in this trilogy.
David, in your defense, when Brandon started it out, he thought he was only writing 1 book.
It was going to be a one.
It was going to be a one-off.
He's like Wax and Wayne was a mistake. Like it was a writing exercise that he realized was so good, he might as well publish
it. Do it. Yeah.
And then wasn't he planning to do like a trilogy of trilogies, and then he failed?
A trilogy of
Wax and Wayne trilogy.
One of them's a quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Well, and now he has the problem of he's got this idea percolating of a Mistborn cyberpunk novel somewhere in there, now his fans are just like, hey, 10 books in Stormlight Archive, 16 in Mistborn.
That's what I'm saying is because it was going to be the original series and then the 80s time period and then a future time period. So like, wasn't that the cyberpunk one? So to me, it didn't sound like there was another new one.
The future time period is supposed to be like Star Trek era.
Sci-fi. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's going to transition fully into sci-fi.
Nice.
Yeah. So now there's 4 eras planned, and knowing Brandon, there'll be 7.
Yeah. I'm saying, I have loved the way that he plays with that idea of how the magic system has progressed through technological advancements and everything. It's one of the things I liked about Legend of Korra. That he did that they did well in Legend of Korra, but he did so freaking cool in Wax and Wayne.
Yeah, I
agree.
And I really
agree.
Legend of Korra did a good job of incorporating the magic with science. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I absolutely love that part of the Wax and Wayne trilogy or I keep calling it a trilogy still. When they have the cubes in Bands of Mourning, because that was something I predicted. When I read the first Wax and Wayne, like, oh man, I can't wait for them to like make some sort of technology that harnesses the metallurgy.
Well, and you were also calling the idea of breeding Allomancers too, because you were talking about that.
I called a lot of the stuff.
Future thing too.
It was amazing.
It's almost like he tries to foreshadow things so that his readers can
almost
see where he's going.
And then we feel so good when we figure it out, and we're just like, because I freaking spelled it out for you guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know. I just think about in the future, they're gonna have like metal detectors you could walk through and like, oh, Allomancer. It's just like the possibilities are just they're there. It's so amazing. Anyways, I'm excited.
Yeah.
But
how is Trell? No, not Trell.
Triss. To get without any spoilers.
Triss in the Emerald Sea, right?
This is the first time he's written something somewhat in the first-person perspective. It really works, in my opinion. And it's not the story I thought it would be, and I'm being very, very pleasantly surprised by it throughout so far.
Is this the one where he said it's kind of like a romance that he wrote for his wife?
Yeah, he wrote for his wife, and so it still feels with a lot of it set up like it's a much more traditional fairy tale story.
Okay,
but it has the Brandon stamp all over it and crossover fun times. And although at the same time, it's also, I think, the most self-aware. There's so many lines in this book where it's like, I don't know if Brandon's talking about character himself, and sometimes I feel attacked by the author because he's just like, oh, the metal was made out of this and this, for those of you who are trying to keep track of such things. I'm like, I'm being attacked and he's attacking me personally.
Okay, so here's the question. Did you guys read Alcatraz? Because I feel like that sounds like there's a little bit of that self-aware authorship thing going on there.
Yeah, he's having fun with this. This might be the most fun I think you've listened to.
Because that is something I really liked about the Alcatraz series. Is it's so fun and so like in joke with you about writing and things like that. It felt so much like his voice to me.
I fully plan on reading Alcatraz, but I'm gonna do it with my son.
Great idea. Great idea.
Because I'm like, he's getting old enough.
I'm
do it
still
in a couple years. We'll read it together.
I'm still just a kid in every way, so I'm just like, hey, I'll just read it myself.
There's no point in me reading it on my own again and then having to reread it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But yeah,
Lisa, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, like, more fun than Alcatraz, Jordan.
I think so personally, but I don't have kids, and so I don't have if I had kids to enjoy that with, I might have a different opinion. I don't know, but I also, to full disclosure, I've only read or listened to the first one, just because we focus almost exclusively on the Cosmere on our podcast, and so. But no, I will be very excited to go back and look at the book for Tress as well, just because the art for Brandon. We've done entire episodes on art in his books, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what these things look like.
Yeah, have you read The Rhythmatist though?
Oh yeah, and I'm still convinced it's somehow in the Cosmere, and
it feels like it should be, except that the map is
the map is USA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's USA, but they're islands instead of.
I think that's one of his best books. It's so cool. I love that.
Really
so here's the torture story of my co-host Bill. So Brandon was at BYU, and Bill is someone who actually kind of knew Brandon when he was up and comer.
Right.
So when Brandon was at an event, and it just got announced that he was going to be finishing the Wheel of Time, but he had been talking about his blog about the story was called Scribbler back then, and Bill asked him in the Q&A, what's this mean for Scribbler? Because he was really looking forward to it. And he's like, oh, you know what? If you email me, I'll send you the first draft, so you don't get denied that. He's like, awesome. So he reads it, he loves it, and then he suddenly has this horrible dawning sensation. One, he can't talk about this to anyone. Two, he still has to wait for the actual book to come out after 2 Wheel of Time books that need to come out that became 3. And 3, he's still waiting for the sequel, just like the rest of us loves.
I've never really understood the hate, and I wouldn't say hate, but like the pressure for that sequel. Like for me, that one ends kind of like the ending of the first Matrix movie, where like, it's clearly we can continue this if we want to, and kind of cliffhanger, but you get so much resolution that you don't need a sequel. If he writes one, I'll read it because I really like it.
I think for a lot of people, this was the first Brandon book where they got so used to sequels. I think it's the first one where there's like, no, nothing. I also think he's a little concerned about, because he's definitely going to be delving into some Native American lore. And I think the more he's delved into his other books, as he's realized, I got to put a lot more work into this to be respectful to the source. And I think this is an area, I think he's even talked about this, that he's like, I need to do more work here. And just with everything else, I just think he's not comfortable putting something out there because he doesn't want to step on anyone's toes. Because like your discussion about like National Treasure and the fact that there's like, the secret ingredients taco seasoning, where it's just like, it's this horribly insulting thing. Like, you didn't even try. You didn't try to even begin to understand what you're talking about. And so that rips people right out of the story.
The other thing that I'll toss out there is that, so on the one hand, another reason I think people are so anxious for it is not only because we're used to there being sequels from his work, and even though it doesn't necessitate a sequel to follow up to finish it up, it's one of those things that it has such, just like so many of the rest of his works, has such an interesting world building and an interesting magic system that we want to spend more time there. And so it's like, here, give us something else that we get to spend more time in this world with this magic and figuring out what's going on with the stuff that's happening here. So, and then I will say too, he's also doing a lot of work right now with like he's doing with the Sideoverse and he's doing with Dan, where he's starting to work collaboration because he knows that he's going to need to do that in order to keep up with all the things that he wants to do. And so he's figuring out how to do that well.
Gojira,
Okay,
we've talked about this. We've talked about this several times, Gojira, in our previous streams.
It's Warbreaker.
Warbreaker is my suggested kind of. I think we all agree.
If you just want one book,
I disagree horribly.
It depends. If you just want one book, Warbreaker. If you're okay with 3, Mistborn.
Yes.
So I actually think I will always argue Mistborn: The Final Empire, because it's very similar to the original Star Wars trilogy, where A New Hope stands on its own. I feel The Final Empire stands on its own. And for me personally, Warbreaker did not hit with me.
Really?
And so it really depends on if I don't read fantasy, actually. This is the weird thing.
What?
That Bill, yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Back up.
Okay. Yes, I gladly. So Bill, my co-host, and I have been friends forever, and he's been trying to get me into Brandon Sanderson for a while. And he finally sold me on reading Mistborn. He's like, "You're a physics major." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Just hear me out here." He's like, "Hear me out here." And he's like, "These people, they can eat metal and then they can push on it." And I'm like, "Eat metal?" And he's
so
like,
stupid.
And he's like, "Just bear with me." And he's like, "They push on metal and it'll go flying from them." I'm like, "All right." And he's like, if it weighs more than them, they go flying." And I'm just like, "Tell me more." Because
you mean he actually does physics in his book, in his magic? What?
Yeah. Well, and so he did the same thing with Sympathy and Pat Rothfuss with me. Because he knew if he started me off where he started off, which was the Elantris,
done so well.
I wouldn't have I would have bounced right off it.
Watch out, Mark. Mark's going to be throwing some rocks in a second here. One of our viewers hates that I don't love Elantris.
But yeah, but if you go, I like 1/3.
You offended Lisa.
It's the part that everyone else seems to hate. I love the Wraithen chapters. I really didn't care too much for the main two characters. But
for me, it's not even that. It's just that I can tell this is a weaker author. This is somebody who does not have the skill.
Well, I think it was
writing.
I think it was actually his third book he wrote, even though it was the first one he sold.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I'm 100% with you. It is one of his weaker novels, absolutely. But it's the first one that he was published with. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that I dislike it. It just has I don't know how to describe it, but
it's not as polished.
There's a feel to it.
Well, I think it's very different because he said, "I'm going to do one chapter each character." That's not how he normally writes.
Yeah.
And so I think it gets hampered a little bit by that central conceit. But in the end, it's a Brandon Sanderson book. Diet God is still God.
Yeah. And on that world, I love Emperor's Soul even more. So yeah.
Emperor's Soul, I think, is the best thing he wrote. But so basically, for me, this is how I tell people: if you read fantasy, you might be fine with Elantris or Warbreaker, or maybe even the Stormlight Archive. If you're someone like me who doesn't tend to read fantasy, give Mistborn a try. I think it's better for non-fantasy readers. Ease yourself into this. You will become obsessed with it by the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is also saying if you're interested in the Cosmere, outside of the Cosmere, especially if you don't read fantasy, try Reckoners. Reckoners is another really good series, especially if you're not a big like fantasy person.
Or if you like sci-fi, Skyward is good too.
I was gonna say Skyward. Yep.
Yeah.
The way I've described like his big fantasy novels as opposed to the Reckoners, it's like his big fantasy novels are like a steak and potatoes, like delicious and good, and the Reckoners is like a bag of your favorite chips. It's just kind of snappy and fun.
Yeah, especially the first one, the most, and then the rest of them, like they're still good. They're more snacky to me, but Steelheart in particular was just it's that peak, like the way that he sets up the twist and everything is just beautiful.
And if you're a board game person, I actually can recommend the Reckoners board game. It's really good, actually.
I was just seeing on your channel that you guys were unboxing that. I need to check out a bunch of your guys' stuff.
Yeah, that was
time. But
the Reckoners is basically it's The Boys but for kids.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
It's hey, we don't have any superpowers and we're gonna go fight
against
superhero.
Evil superheroes. Yeah.
No,
but the other answer is ultimately you can't really start wrong because it's all really friggin' awesome.
If you just trust Brand, just trust the fact everyone who says Brandon's an amazing writer. If one book doesn't click for you, it's fine. Move to a different series. You'll find something that clicks. Unless you just don't like fantasy, in which case Brandon says that's okay. Go enjoy yourself because he just wants people reading.
Yes, exactly. So, but those are our suggestions. Gojira, either Mistborn: The Final Empire or Warbreaker.
Yeah,
Jordan, I think it's so funny when you talked about the your friend trying to explain the Mistborn magic system to you, because I had the exact same experience, but I had the opposite result that you did, because you might not know this. Some of us on this podcast are members of the Latter-day Saint Church, known as the Mormons, and we serve missions for 2 years. We go anywhere in the world. So I served a mission in Mexico, and on our downtime, we're like so removed from pop culture and stuff. We just like to talk about our favorite stuff. And so I had a companion there who tried explaining to me the magic system of Mistborn, and on paper, like, it sounds like the stupidest thing imaginable. Like you eat metals and then you burn them and you get magic, and then you keep eating metals, but you put them in oil, you put them in jars, and it's like, this sounds ridiculous. He was like, well, maybe read Warbreaker instead then. I did. I was like, oh, I'm going to read Mistborn now.
Yeah. And I think
specifically with I was just gonna say, the thing that I bounced off Warbreaker a little bit when I first read it, because I just come off of Mistborn, was we get this opening with Vasher and this cool thing, and then we don't see him again forever. And the entire time I'm like, go back to that guy. He's doing cool things.
I think what it is to me, especially what I like about Emperor's Soul and Warbreaker the most, is because there's such complex ideas explored there, and that's what ends up being so cool in those books, that maybe trying to get into any one of them, I can see what you're getting at with getting into that might have been really hard, but taking it as a whole, just because as I go through it, I'm like, man, this is such a cool, interesting concepts that he's diving into and exploring, and because like Brandon and like Max like Alan was saying here about certain missions, coming from a similar religious and cultural background as Brandon, I can see some of the really interesting ways that he's playing with those things. So that's why I'm really excited. Really liked Warbreaker in that. So
I have a question, as well as Gojira's, but where does it start? Where's the beginning of the story?
It depends. Publication order. So the first book he published was Elantris. The other answer to your question is chronologically, it doesn't matter yet, because what it is the Cosmere is this collective universe, and he started writing books on different planets, and each planet has a different magic system. So you can start wherever. Chronologically, I think the first books all kind of take place around the same time. And it's just now that he started getting into series that mix people from different planets, and you get a mixture of magic. So the most recent series is the second era of Mistborn, where you're getting people come in from other planets and crossovers and stuff, and as well as his monster epic, the Stormlight Archive. You get some people who've traveled there.
Yeah, the thing that Brand says about the Stormlight Archive is it's okay to start there if you want to, but his recommendation is, he's like, you have to trust me from the start that I'm going somewhere with this. and it's why he recommends his other books. Is he hasn't earned that trust from you yet?
Yeah, but I
So
trust him. With everything you guys said, I starting to want to read him, but I don't like reading from the middle of a story. I like to get, from the prequels and then to the actual story, and then probably the sequel. The part that you said is a second era where he starts joining the people from other planets. So where specifically should I start? Elantris or
the only thing you need to worry about is I personally wouldn't start with the second era Mistborn, even though you could start there and it would still be a fun ride. It does spoil some things from the first trilogy.
To that point, there's someone on the Cosmere subreddit right now who did just that because his friends were big Sanderson fans, and he started with Era 2 just to piss them off. He's now going back to Era 1, and he's posting what he got wrong in his head, as he's reading through. Because
that's gotta be cool.
It's hilarious because he's like, I thought these two characters were the same guy with the different titles, but
especially in Era 2. There's a reason. There's some reason for that. There's a couple of different thoughts on that.
And everyone's reacting like that. Everyone's like giggling in this because it's not the two that are in there. It's like, man, he's gonna be so confused.
But at the same time, it's also really good because that's part of what makes it so cool, the way that he's set up Era 2, because he's done such a good job of being able to make it so that these characters in Era 2 have mythologized those characters that we know from Era 1. So we hear them talking about them, and we know what they're trying to talk about. But then they're talking about them in ways where you can see how it's been altered over time, or see how it's been shifted. And it's so
good. It's so good. It's beautiful.
That being said, talking about the chronology of it, Mistborn Era 2 takes place after the Stormlight Archive, correct?
After the first five of the Stormlight Archive.
Yes, that's what I thought. So
we do know that.
I was like, it has to, because they have Stormlight there, and in Stormlight they still haven't figured out how to get Stormlight off world. Except that I guess with book 4 they kind of find the solution to that. They don't know it yet, right? That's gotta be what it is.
These are major spoilers, so maybe we should.
I think it's about time for Bearded and I to head out, because we have not read Stormlight, we have not read Lost Metal.
And Stormlight is the other one I'd be wary of. You can totally start there, but it's more fun if you can pick up on the Easter eggs, because there are characters from the other books that show up on Stormlight. So Stormlight technically takes place a little bit after the other offshoot books, but it's kind of the same era of medieval fantasy.
And I
actually started with the Stormlight Archive, and I turned out okay.
If there's anything, this experiment of the guy on the subreddit, I used to think, like, while there was no right way to start, there might be a wrong way. But if this guy's proven anything, I think that might be wrong. I think there's no wrong spot to really start. Just find whichever one that intrigues you.
At least start with the first book of the series you're starting with.
Just start with the first book.
You could be like Mark Clark and read
one and
the third book. Like, who does that?
Well, he's clearly an insane person.
I will say,
we love you, Mark.
Very much to Alan's point about the way that they are so distinct. In like, he really does a great job of, at least within series, it doesn't matter which ones you've read, because they at this point are so not connected that it's not going to feel like you're going to some sort of prequel afterwards and jumping around. Here's this interesting world, and you read and explore that, Elantris, or then here's this interesting world with Warbreaker, and there, it's like reading completely separate stories, completely separate worlds and everything. Maybe you'll pick up on like, that's kind of weird. That description sounds the same as the description over here. But maybe you won't, and it won't be a problem.
Definitely at the tipping point, though, where like anything
from here on out, I think it's going to be a lot
probably
more
past
connected.
the secret projects you don't want to start with.
And it's more, and again, I think it'll still be from everything that I'm hearing so far. It'll still be that you could just continue enjoying that one series or that one book, or just going forward with that and be able to enjoy it on its own without the rest of it. But you might end up feeling like, when I then go over and read this book, that character that jumped over, I'm kind of jumping around their timeline.
The example I'll give, my mom loved the Avengers film. She enjoyed it. She had never seen Iron Man, and she hadn't seen Hulk. She hadn't seen Thor. All she had seen was Captain America. She still enjoyed Avengers. I think Avengers is a lot more fun if you see the other films.
Yeah, exactly. That's
a good
Stormlight.
analogy. Yeah.
You can start there. It's more fun if you don't.
And the only reason we don't probably recommend Elantris is it is not as well written. It is not as strong written, and it doesn't, at least as far as I can tell, connect.
I recommend reading it. I don't recommend starting.
Yes,
with it.
Starting.
But I'm
exactly.
So it doesn't really matter, The worse English he uses, the better for me.
Yeah, I think if that's the case, I just go in publication order in your situation, because you can't go wrong there.
That is generally my attempt at approaching things. Whenever there's anything like, for example, Star Trek, when I watched through the entire Star Trek, I actually tried to watch them in release order. Same thing with Redwall books, because those have a bunch of different like interconnected stories and things like that. Release order is really good, because even if you do end up going into a prequel, it was designed that way. It's like watching the Star Wars movies. You watch the originals and go back to the prequels. That's fine. You can watch the prequels first.
Right.
But it was intended to be watched originals and then prequels. And, the sequels.
I mostly read publication order. I started with Warbreaker, then did Mistborn, then Elantris, and then from there on out it was.
I did the first Mistborn, and then I went Warbreaker, and then I finished the Mistborn trilogy, and then went on from there.
The only one I'll say you have to read one before the other is you have to read Warbreaker before Stormlight Archive.
Absolutely.
Because it's the first little bit of crossing over.
How long did it take you to figure out that
the Vasher?
Oh no.
I was today years old when I found out that Vasher is apparently in Stormlight. I was right now years old.
Be careful with spoilers.
It's okay. I embrace the fact that it'll happen. So I'm going to just roll with it, especially when it's not something like Lost Metal itself, and preferably not something that's a big storyline. The book itself,
So I didn't want to like read a bunch of the Wikipedias, right, and like figure out all the stuff that I missed. So what I did is I looked up a list of people who appear in the books and tried to find them. I felt like that was a good balance of like, be on the lookout for these characters.
Yes.
And if you can recognize them, then good for you. And
I think that's great too, because
I think that was fun
like we said, a lot of the cameos are very veiled. And if you're not looking for them, you're going to miss them.
Until book 4, when it's like, hey, I'm this guy.
Yeah. Even now, going through Mistborn Era 1 and even half of Mistborn Era 2, I mostly don't recognize, like even Hoyd, like where he pops up in Era 2. Okay, yep, I got that one.
Yeah.
But where he popped up in Era 1, I had no idea.
Well,
Done.
It's something.
I'm like,
same here.
It's something Brandon talked about in his keynote speech at Dragonsteel Con. He was told, and this is part of his big speech about the gloves are coming off, about how he was told, no, you can't do these crossover things. People hate crossovers.
So he hid them.
So he hid them, made them these tiny things, and it was his readers being like, wait a minute, this name has showed up a couple times, and they started noticing things, and so he started going a little bit more, and he compared it to when he was a kid. He was given this writing assignment to write something that was an allegory, and it was a 2-page assignment, and he wrote a 28-page story about dwarves and dragons. And the teacher asked him, what's the allegory? And he's like, environmentalism, which she gave him a D and told him to try again because this wasn't the assignment. And also, poor teacher, she's like, I asked for 2 pages, you gave me 28. I have a weekend, dang it.
I mean, isn't this not freaking Brandon Sanderson? It's always been freaking Brandon Sanderson.
I hope she framed that though, right? Like,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, there's no way you could have known.
Yeah.
Goodness.
And so, he finished, he got an A, it was great. And he's like, but I'm tired of writing to the assignment. And the gloves are coming off.
Very good.
He's like, so from here on out, don't tell your friends to read the most recent books. Start them on something like Mistborn. Start these other things, because I'm going to start getting crazy with it. And boy, did he deliver.
And I think he did say with the secret projects that are coming out this year that those are fine to read as well. There's not again, there's little Easter eggs. Some of them are narrated by characters that we've already
having
met.
Having started going through Trell or Tress, I keep saying Trell, Tress.
Yeah.
I actually think it leans closer to Lost Metal than Warbreaker in those terms. So
yeah. I think he said on one of the streams that it wouldn't be terrible if you started, but it would be
I think it's still definitely enjoyable.
I wonder if some of that is because you are who you are as somebody who's part of the Cosmere studies, that like you're hyper aware of who is narrating this and who so you're very aware of it, whereas somebody coming in fresh isn't going to be aware, and it's not going to throw them off, I don't think.
Jeff, I think the Warbreaker cameo is the most veiled one. I didn't know until
I think that one I was only aware either because I either watched it on or because I think I read it on his website the first time, and it might have had a flag on there or something about it where it's like, oh, that's the one time that I picked up on the description, even though they don't because they use his name there too.
In books 1 through 3, it's the Warbreaker cameos are very, very vague, and
until the very end.
Yeah. In the book 4, it's like it's not. It's like you're talking about okay, that's what it is. And then retroactively, you're like, oh wait, that other character from book 3, that has to be this person now. So
sorry, I thought you were saying like when Hoyd pops up in Warbreaker, and I'm like, well, he calls himself Hoyd. Yeah, they're in Warbreaker. So
I'm talking about the Stormlight Archive.
No, the reveals at the end of book 2, Stormlight Archive, I feel really require you. Like it was set to the point where I'm just sitting in my house. I live with Bill, my co-host, and I'm just sitting there minding my own business, just playing video games, being a shut-in, and all of a sudden I hear a scream and a thud, and I come out with it. Is everything okay? And he's like, I literally can't talk about it because you haven't finished the book.
That is how I have felt. That's how I felt about the end of, the Bands of Mourning and that reveal and going into Secret History, and especially with David here, because he only recently got around to that, and especially as he kept talking about breeding automators, and I'm like, read the freaking books, just do it.
Yeah, I predicted so much of stuff that happened,
but without knowing it, without trying to predict it either. You're like, what'd be cool is if they did this, and you're like,
okay, here's the worst one. I had a coworker. I got him reading Mistborn, and in book 1, he just goes, I think there's something up with Vin Ziering. And I'm just like,
and you can't say anything about it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying because I don't want to spoil it, because for me it was this huge reveal. It's awesome, and I don't want him to lose that. And I'm like, well, why do you say that? It's like, I don't know. He just keeps drawing attention to it. To which I'm just like, stop meta commentating your stupid book. Second of all, stop noticing things. And then later on, like, so. Well, this is the worst part. I asked him, if you were Misty, which one do you think you'd be? He's like, I think I'd be a Seeker. Of course you would be.
Well, I
drove me nuts. He kept nailing everything. I just start lying to him outright because he just was noticing too much. He's like, wait, you lied to me. I'm like, of course I lied to you. What do you want me to do? Yes, you're absolutely right. Plot twists are no longer a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, answering to Mark Dark's question. Actually, in Mexico, none of these things are like big, comics, graphic novels. Probably comics are the only thing that are big in Mexico. But, comics, graphic novels, and fantasy books specifically are not that not that of a big thing. I haven't seen any Brandon Sanderson book in my life translated to Spanish. Oh yeah, obviously there are, but I have never seen it, real life in a bookstore when I went to to buy books in these big bookstores that they have. Gandhi, I think, is the big the name of the big bookstore franchise, but yeah, they're not a big thing. That's the reason why I'm having issues getting into fantasy books. I want to start reading Tolkien, but I don't want to read Tolkien without being able to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to maybe go into something like Brian Anderson, with where the universe is so vast that if I don't like something, I can just go and read another thing. And obviously, I'm not going to read the second era because I'm going to be confused out of my mind. But yeah, I can start maybe Mistborn, and if I don't like Mistborn, I go into Warbreaker, and if I don't like that
Yep.
or I don't get that, maybe I go into Lantris, where he was lesser of an author. But yeah, no, I really hate that that of Mexico, that they don't like fantasy.
Yeah. See, the thing is, you actually do need to read it in the original Klingon. Is what you need to do. So.
I missed that one. Huh?
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
I had that joke percolating in my head, and I was just waiting to.
yeah, and I don't like reading books in translated because translators do sometimes like a terrible job, and I want to read it in the original language. I hope it's English. I don't want to be learning, Polish to read Sapkowski.
This is a good question. This is a good question because you can get them on Amazon, like Mark Clark said.
That's actually the one that I really wanted to ask about was White Sands, because
I had struggled to find these until recently. I found Dark One at a bookstore, and it was also at the convention.
Now remind me, Dark One is one that he's published as it's just this is not the canon version of this. This is my proto version. Is that correct, or am I wrong on that?
No, it's part of the Cosmere, so
it's not part of the Cosmere at all.
Oh, okay.
It's his dark fantasy, it's like an evil Harry Potter, like he's prophesized to be.
So I've recently seen Dark One
on Dan Wells to help him rewrite and re-release.
Yes, they are making a novel adaptation of the Dark One, and they are making some changes.
Okay, but it's the graphic novel of Dark One that's out.
I recently found that I've seen the graphic novel in more stores, and for White Sands, they're still working on the omnibus.
That's the thing that's White Sands is a little more. I want the omnibus, and I keep on looking for it, and it looks like they're still not there.
It keeps getting
White
delayed.
Sands, just wait until you can get it all in one chunk.
Because I have Ars Arcanum, and I've read the proto White Sands that he has in Ars Arcanum, and I'm like, that's cool. I want to check this out. And okay, I guess you're going to graphic novel. Not always my favorite medium, but I'm okay with it. But it's not.
It's clear. So Brandon being very polite, it's clear that it was an absolute creme storm in the background of the development of these books, and they've now got completely different artists and to redo like the first book in particular. It's ugly. Like it's just ugly.
Okay, so I thought I was mean because I didn't really like what I saw of the first book originally, and here I was being like, I'm the odd one out here.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Nobody liked it. There's errors. There's like a boombox in the background of one of the frames, and it's just like, I have several questions.
Is this Dark One that you're talking about in particular?
No, this is White Sands.
This is White Sands. Okay.
I think Dark One holds up pretty well.
Okay.
But it's clear Brandon was experimenting. Most people at that age are experimenting with, illicit things. Brandon experiments with different genres.
Yeah. Well, and I'm okay with that. I'm just such a canon junkie that I want to experience his canon stuff, and I want to experience the Cosmere canon stuff. I am okay experiencing things that aren't Cosmere canon, as long as I know this isn't Cosmere canon, and then I can come in here, like I love Reckoners, I love Sideovers, I love the Alcatraz. Those are fine. But when it comes to the Cosmere stuff, I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool to read this White Sands thing, but if the graphic novel is going to be the canon Cosmere thing, that's what I really want to know, and then I can read this as a fun little aside.
Just wait for White Sands. Okay.
Yeah. I want more Brandon in my life. All right.
Yeah, you don't. You won't have
I'm
to wait
actually
long.
quite a graphic novel fan. Once again, I'm a weirdo.
Careful.
I don't have a problem with them. It's just not usually been my go-to.
No. Sorry, no. But the thing that was weird for me is disliking the original White Sands I saw as much as I did, because I'm a big graphic novel fan. I much preferred like the text snippet that was included somewhere. I was like, this is way better.
Yeah.
I wish he would just write it as a normal book, but I see why you would want to try like different mediums. So I'm excited to see how the omnibus ends up being.
Well, and the other thing to remember is when Brandon released White Sands the first time, the Dragon Steel team I think was 8 people, and he didn't like he had a one-person art department, and they were in charge of it, but they weren't the ones doing it.
Right.
Dragonsteel's now almost 55 people. There's multiple people in the art department, and so I have a feeling that the omnibus is going to be a lot better.
Well, and that's the other reason that I'm also totally happy with the fact that he's not going to write the actual novel. Because as much as I like novels and I want the novel because that's Brandon, I know he has too much. He can't get to it all. And so him experimenting and saying, hey, I can't get to this story, but if I farm it out to somebody who will be able to put it in a graphic novel, I'm like, cool, I'll take it. You know? I don't know.
Which
I
mean,
like that, but also
whole...
Dan Wells liked Rings of Power.
Did you watch the whole thing of that interview?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Dan Wells likes bad things though.
Yes.
Like that's like he kind of tipped his hand and saying like I liked it because it was bad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He also is not invested in Tolkien.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
No, yeah. His explanation was like, "Oh yeah, it's just like doing an RPG," and I was like, "Yeah, but that's not what we want to see."
Yeah, no, exactly. No, he did go in. They both criticized it and pointed out flaws and everything. But
and I think it mostly was focused on this idea of they are, first of all, I think that they are more polite in general, and also like recognizing that they don't want to be just trashing on it, but in general they're like, look, we had problems with it, and I think that they would probably agree with most of the complaints that we had about it. But their approach is going to be, these are some of the things that I liked about it, or I had fun with this part of it. Just the way that they're approaching it, more than the fact that he actually liked it, or he was like, "Oh, you didn't like that? I loved that." It's more like "Oh yeah, that was terrible. It was fun to watch how terrible that was." You know.
Dan Wells is a good writer though. He's I'm Not a Serial Killer is really good, and the one I forgot the name, but I got one of his books that I haven't read yet, but it sounds like an awesome premise.
Is that Partials?
No, it's the one. So the main character has schizophrenia and starts seeing monsters and realizes that some of them are real, but no one will believe him. And he can't. He has to figure out what's the schizophrenia and what's the monsters.
I never find enough. Cool. I don't find enough time to read, and I'm doing it for Brandon. But at the same time, like
that's a killer premise.
You know, I want to read Dan's books. I want to read
Dan's books are heavier though, man.
Yeah,
they hit a lot closer to home.
Yeah, but I'm cool with that. Like, I'm down with it.
Yeah,
I have to be in a certain headspace. Like, I can't read that during, if I'm low, because otherwise it's gonna be like, well, that's too much.
To some of those same ideas, Legion is another one by Brandon that's really solid stuff.
Yeah, that's another interesting premise. Talking about
very short, very short.
Well, I mean, there's three of them now. Of them that come together into one. All for Brandon, very very short. For most people, about normal sized book.
Of all the things that Brandon could get adapted, I think Legion is actually the best one. I think it could be done perfectly.
Actually, I think there's another short. There's another short story he did called Snapshot. I think that one is freaking fantastic. That one's so good.
This is an interesting point, but you also have to take into consideration that he's more invested in the Wheel of Time than he is the Rings of Power.
Yes.
So it's true. The Wheel of Time TV show, like structurally, it's written better than Rings of Power, but I hate it more because I'm more connected to the source material.
I think we can definitely go off on that again. You know.
Yeah, we've discussed that ad nauseum. But anyways, I think it's time that I head out so you can talk.
I want to. I definitely want to start talking.
Yes, please. Let's go.
So
ready?
Sadly, leave.
Steven says, "Get out."
You may leave and read the book.
Then you come back. Talking about Brandon stuff.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, David.
Bye.
Yeah, Jared.
Bye, y'all.
Peace out.
I'm gonna head out as well.
Peace out. Forever hold
you. Angry Mexico, good to meet you.
Nice
Thanks
to meet
for joining us. Check out.
Bye.
Check out his channel, please.
I just checked out your SimplyNerdy channels. It's great. I'm going to be watching your videos.
Thank you.
I love video games, bro. I love video games. You got me there.
The most anticipated of the year was a good video.
Yeah, I want to watch that.
Also,
we'll be looking at Angry Mix's channel too.
check out my channel. The technically next. I forgot to plug. I got a new merch.
Oh, nice.
I got a nice little beanie with my logo on it. I'm not gonna watch. I look really bad in hats though. So look, this is not like good. This isn't gonna sell hats.
Where did Tex-Mex go?
Like your brain disappeared.
I don't look good. So instead, I got some pictures. Hold on. Here we go. This will sell it.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Gold, you got it.
That's just a cheat code.
There we go. Are you ready for the winter months? Is it probably too late to promote this? Yeah, but
Some people wear
look
beanies
at
in the
that!
summer.
Look at that! It's on my son. The cutest though is when it's on Savannah because she looks like a skater.
Yeah,
Right?
Actually.
with her long hair.
he looks like a little hipster there. Yeah, that's good.
This is good.
Very cute. Very cute.
Yeah.
It's embroidered though. It's real nice.
Cute.
Yeah,
Nicely
that's
done.
cute.
Does look
It
good.
looks high quality.
That's cute. I got cute
Yeah.
kids. David's gonna
That you
have
do.
another kid, which is crazy. But yeah, get out of here, guys.
Spoilers.
Right.
Have fun.
Check out his channel though.
Thank you
He's
so
got some good
much.
stuff on there on Shelf Help.
Yeah, it's
Oh
okay.
yeah, that too. I will.
It's okay.
Shelf Help Gaming. I just subscribe to goodness which way I just subscribed to the Cosmere Studies in the
As well.
in the link
Awesome.
too. So
Oh, they
Good
had
stuff.
a panel at the
Nice.
at the
Yeah, it was
convention.
a ton
It
of
cool.
Very nice,
I
very
can't
nice.
recommend that convention enough. It is
It was
so
fun.
much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I
nice.
might have
Maybe
to
next
look at
year.
going next year. Yeah.
I was broke, so
Well,
Still
is
are.
your kind
What? Sorry.
have you been?
What is your
was that your
channel, Carl?
first year? It's okay. It's let me try again. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies.
Just look up Cosmere Studies, one word, it gets you there. The whole reason is I secretly want to be an evil overlord of some kind, and so anything I do, I try and come up with acronyms that spell something. In this case, 6, but spelled wrong. And
Oh,
it
nice.
I actually do like that.
yeah, it makes me happy. And luckily, I have 2 co-hosts that when I proposed that as our name, they said, "Just give Jordan this one; he'll shut up."
So wait,
Very
are you
good. I like
talking
it.
about the Dragonsteel convention? Is that the one?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Dragonsteel
Okay,
convention is incredible.
Was that your first year? Because that was my first.
That was actually our second year because we
How does
so
it
we made
compare?
so
'Cause-
the second year was almost triple the size.
Right. I mean, like thematically, because I'm debating whether or not I want to go next year because I'm not as invested in the Skyward
I
series.
I had a ton of fun at the last one, which was the first one was Skyward.
Yeah.
It's
The
more
next
about
one's
the atmosphere of the
Cryptonic.
people.
I'm
Yeah, and so
100% going in 2 years for Stormlight 5, right? But-
Yeah, I can't imagine how big the Stormlight one will be, but no, I had a ton of fun. I actually haven't been a fan of the Cytonic, the Cytoverse stuff, and I still had a ton of fun. And like that convention was much smaller. We got lucky because we had Kara Stewart on, who is Brandon's sort of his logistics woman. And we had her on just to discuss the growth of the Sandersonian Empire, and she got us in on the first one, and so we're hoping that we keep getting grandfathered in. We're just crossed fingers every single time.
And yeah, I'm just debating. I'm sure it'll still be just as nerdy, and there will be lots of Cosmere talk, but I'm just not invested in the Skyward series as much. Like I'll read them eventually, but it's not like
people show up in cosplays from everything.
Right.
There's stuff for everyone.
But man,
There's-
Stormlight 5 is gonna be a killer.
Yeah,
I'm actually a little bit mad that it's going to be not until 2025 or whatever or 2024 for Cosmere or for Stormlight 5, because I'm ready to start on it, and I know it'll take me some time because those are some thick books, but I want that 5th book already.
Okay, you know what? Actually, here's my sales pitch for people should come next year. What did Brandon say in the State of the Sanderson?
Yeah.
Where's he going to make his big announcement?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep. Right after that came out, my brother texted me. He lives out in Utah as well, and he's like, "So, coming to Dragonsteel next year?"
I think it's well worth it.
I live in Utah. I should probably go.
I will go with you.
Should go.
Because I'm
I live in Mexico, so I probably never going to.
Oh,
Come to Dragonsteel, man.
You can Skype in.
There you go.
You can
How's the
join on
coolest
Zoom.
name of a convention? Dragonsteel. That sounds
Dragonsteel,
awesome.
solid.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
But
going to be really confusing when the Dragonsteel novel
guys.
finally comes
Goodbye
out.
for
So
now.
I know, right? Okay, bye.
The Dragonsteel release is going to be interesting.
Well,
Okay,
I mean,
get out of here so we can talk
Stormlight isn't
about
called
books.
Stormlight too. You know, it's called
Yeah.
Way of Kings. So
Yeah.
I don't think the novel is going to be called.
Well, I mean,
Dragonsteel.
that's what it was called.
Yeah,
it was
it
called
was,
yeah.
Dragonsteel.
Yep.
And he keeps
Right,
referring to it
that's
as
his-
Dragonsteel.
That's
There's
his
the
working
series
title for
versus
sure,
the
but-
Get
book
out-
name as well.
Get out of
All right,
here.
bye. I'm going. I'm leaving. I can't click on the leave button. It's not working. Okay, bye.
Click on the close button.
There we go.
No, wait.
Graceful
Still no spoiler. There we go. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that sex scene. Wow.
Incredible.
I didn't
Oh my
know
God.
that Spren could do that.
In the Lost Metal.
In the Lost Metal.
Passions.
So
Okay,
Don't
first
worry,
of
I
all,
haven't heard
okay,
much from
My
Anthony.
sister
Anthony.
said that to me unironically, though. She was like, I really want Kaladin to end up with Syl. And I was just like, okay,
What?
hold on.
don't focus on since you decided to start here, I'm just going to start. This book had categorically the best swear of all of Brandon's fake swears when Wayne says, "By Harmony's missing holy bits."
Yeah.
oh my god.
Say it again, though, because you cut out.
Oh, by Harmony's missing holy bits.
Yeah.
It's by far the best one they've ever done, and
So
I don't know
good.
how he's ever going to top it.
Because it's been I need to reread Mistborn Era 1. He's Castrati, right?
Yeah, he's a unit because that's what the Lord Ruler would do to all the Terrace
To the
people,
Terrace men, yeah.
so that they couldn't reproduce because that was the threat.
Yeah, I heard that part and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's because they're snipped, right? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I really
It's
need to
amazing.
reread Era 1. It's been too long. But
Me too.
this book was just so much fun.
It wasn't it though? I enjoyed every chapter, every page turn. I was sucked in 100%.
Yeah, it was just a blast.
And a tearjerker at the same time.
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
I knew one of them was going to die, and I figured it was probably.
I thought it was
gonna
going to be more deaths than there actually was.
I would have liked to see Wayne at the end, just like, I'm going to go hang out. I'm going to go adventure with Milan, Pete, and leave on his own accord. But the sacrifice was good too. But like,
It sort of
it
highlights
was definitely
the whole...
it was definitely building to like they need to move on from each other. Wax and Wayne.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. On the subject of questionable ships, as I was reading it, I was like, no, Lisa, you cannot ship Wayne with his evil copycat. Yeah. I stopped.
Yeah, that's a level of narcissism that I don't think is healthy for a character.
That's why I hated Loki. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that
I hated that
yeah.
TV show.
That was awkward.
I mean,
But
the thing with Gertrude is she wasn't literally him.
Yeah.
That makes it.
yeah, she was uncanny valley. him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wait,
She's-
Gertruda. Wait. I think I got the name slightly wrong.
I think
Forgive me.
I think it's Gertruda. I think you're
Okay,
you're-
yeah.
Look, you're in the ballpark. I mean,
Oh
good-
man.
but I love the fake Wax and Wayne.
It was
Like
great.
there's something I had a long thought. I'm like, why haven't they tried to create their own? They got hemalurgy. They should be trying to create an anti-squad. Now, I thought it was going to be they're going to try and create powers that
Like, didn't
counter
exist.
them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Instead of
instead
the same
they went a different route. And
Oh,
It
it was
was-
so fun.
well, and then we got like 3 fights between them, so we got to see the fights, evolve.
Yeah, that was so
We-
fun.
we got to see the really big gun.
The real big gun, right to her face. Oh, but the conclusion was so good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anthony, I'm curious to hear from you specifically. What did you think of the end of Era 2?
I'm still trying to figure that out, I think.
I figured you
I definitely
Continue.
I enjoyed it. I do have to say, as far as like a final book, I was delighted by how many Cosmere references that he decided to bring in, because so when I had read Words of Radiance for the first time, I actually caught on to the Nightblood reference pretty quickly, because I really loved that book, and I was like, wow, what he's doing unveiled crossovers. It's not just Hoyd level stuff anymore. He's throwing a
what foreshadowing was there with Nightblood when he said, I used to have a sword that
No, there's a part, I think it's when Nale comes yes. It's right after Kaladin defeats
because the only references I can remember is before I knew it was Vasher, he offhand mentions that he used to hear voices, and that he had.
So the part I'm thinking of, Zeth was just defeated. Then Nale comes and basically brings him back to life, and then gives him a black sword that speaks to him.
Oh yeah, that was obvious.
Would you like?
He says, "Do you want to kill evil?" And yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I thought you were talking about like some like veiled comments that you picked up on beforehand. I'm like,
how
could you have figured that out? Like some people, I know that some psychopaths did figure it out, and they're like, well, if you talk about the passages with Vasher, before you know he's Vasher, he talks about he mentions colors in almost every sentence that he says, and he's wearing a rope around his waist, and this. I'm like, okay. I didn't catch on. Okay.
I didn't either for a while.
It sounds like we're all thinking of the same part.
If you analyze his speech patterns, it's the exact same way that Vasher talks in the Warbreaker books.
Oh my god!
I respect anyone who did figure that out, but holy crap! The night when the sword is revealed, yes, it's obviously Nightblood, but I still couldn't figure out who Vasher was until book 4, which
it took me a while to figure that out.
Anyhow, I think I've kind of gotten us a bit derailed here. I brought up that again to say that, I felt like that was kind of a big move for him, because I felt like that was the first time in his books that he had decided to make a brazen reference to a crossover.
Right.
And then he writes this book
on purpose too.
Then he writes this book exactly,
and it's like, all these returning characters that they, some of them called out by name, like K-Ice. That was a huge one.
Who?
K-Ice. She's code names.
Yeah.
Code names.
Wait, what is she from?
She's from Elantris. She is Serene's niece. And she's a little girl in that book, and that was supposed to take place centuries before. So
I didn't know who that was.
How the heck did you guys know?
For real,
they literally said her name, but
I did. It's been so long since I've read Elantris, though. That's
same.
No,
I knew
that
that she was from that world. I didn't know. I'm like, okay, I could probably figure out who it is if it's someone specific, and I don't want to do the work.
The bigger one for me was Shy showing up from Emperor Soul.
Yeah.
Shy is my favorite female character. Kelsier is my favorite male character. And now they're on the same team together. And like, I don't normally squee. I leave that to our third co-host who fangirls over stuff. But I almost squeed. I'm just like,
did they say her name though?
Yeah. Well,
like we're
at
sure.
the end.
We're sure that Moonlight
1000% it's her.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
it's been confirmed.
No, it was so. Oh, and she just gives herself magic powers by turning herself into an Elantrian god.
I mean,
now that's her hop. That's a stamp that is hopped up on pure Aeon Door.
That's so cool.
Heck.
But I mean, she straight up says her name is Shai, which is how you would pronounce it based on the pronunciations we've learned from from Cell.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have noticed if I was reading the book instead of listening to the audiobook.
No, I love the Emperor's Soul. It was so cool.
Yeah.
That's just such a unique short story too. Like, I love it.
I'm actually reading it right now. That's what I'm working on.
The little things in here that are so cool about like her showing up. First of all, her, what's her name? Moonlight. And
Moonlight. Yep.
But she's saying it to a place that has no moons. And so she's like, this doesn't have the same meaning to you.
Oh, that was good.
But hilariously, where the two main characters are called Wax and Wane, they have no moon.
Right. Other things can wax and wane, like candles.
So wait.
It's just
sorry. You
go
say
ahead.
your thing real quick. Oh, no, I was kind of going to change the subject, so you better say.
Go
your
ahead.
Thing.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so crap. What is the name of bad god?
Trell.
Discord. Trell.
No,
it's the one that we kept
Autonomy.
saying.
Autonomy. Thank you. I was like, what is that word? Yeah. So like when
we kept saying Trell because of the new book is Triss, right?
Yeah.
Tress,
Yeah.
like Tress is a bear.
See, I kept mixing them up.
When did like Moonlight run afoul of Autonomy? Like, I want to know what happened. Yeah.
We don't know the specifics, but there are some very strong hints, and it's making Elantris a far more interesting book now that we know stuff. We now know that it seems like what Autonomy tried to pull on Scadrial, Autonomy already is pulling in Elantris.
Because she mentioned, is that the one? Because some of the characters mentioned that they can't return back to their planet. Was Moonlight one of those that said I can't go back?
No, she didn't say that. It was the
that was Twin Soul.
Twin Soul, yeah.
Twin Soul. He's the other one. So I haven't finished reading all of the short stories from the Arcanum Abounded.
This is our first look.
He's
at
a new. I figured. Because
I didn't recognize
at Dragonsteel, everyone kept asking questions about the aviaries, and I was like, I haven't read that one yet, so I don't know.
It's a short one, so that's an easy one.
Is the aviaries? Is that one the
Sixth of the Dust?
Sixth of Dust. It was either that one or the Shadows of Hell Forest.
Yeah, those are. If you haven't done Arcanum Unbounded and you've caught up on everything else, can't recommend it enough. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But no, and so we haven't seen Aethers in action yet, and so this was our first look at them.
Okay, so he's from a completely new planet.
Yeah, so their planet is lost to the Aethers in some way. I don't know the specifics because I never read.
I think he said. I think in the book he mentioned that the Aether sent him away because there was some other danger there.
Yes, and so there's basically their planet has been corrupted in some way, and they're hoping to return one day. And this is, you see the Ghostbloods, who they are. They're a bunch of vagabonds and people
rejects
and because it's the whole point. He's looking for allies because Kelsier is all about just trying to protect Scadrial. So how do you get people to support, protecting a world? You got to form allies.
Okay, so I have to ask because we brought up Kelsier. Is Kelsier right? Is what he's doing right?
So now we have to talk about Stormlight 4.
Yes, we do have to talk about Stormlight 4.
So
he's kind of a villain in Stormlight 4.
He is.
So this is something we've discussed a bunch on our podcast. I'm a Kelsier fanboy. Unapologetic. I literally have a Ghostblood sigil on my laptop.
Wait. Oh, you can't.
I
can't.
You're
probably using that laptop.
Show us the picture.
I can't put a bag of holding into itself. But no,
you use a portable hole and then a bag of holding.
Yeah, it's just too much. I don't have the checks for that. But no. So think back to Kelsier's original team. Kelsier is not a micromanager. Kelsier is someone who gives his underlings a lot of leeway to accomplish things because Kelsier is, for all his faults, and does he have faults? He trusts people. He likes to trust people.
Yes.
It's clear to me now. Again, unapologetic Kelsier fanboy. It's clear to me that he has these disparate groups. He lets them run themselves. But we get from Twin Soul's perspective, he feels they're running amok on on Roshar. And so I think we're going to be seeing at some point an inter-Ghost Blood war.
Ooh.
For the soul of the Ghost Bloods, of what are we?
Between Kelsier and
I don't even know if it'd be. I think it's just going to be because I just think like almost the same way like you see splinterings of religious sects.
You're right.
We're just because there's like, oh no, we're just here for only power, and it's like, well, no, we have some principles of some kind.
Well, and the Kelsier from the Lost Metal seemed almost a little bit repentant.
Well, if
from
you
Storm 4, because this has to take
this
place
happens after.
Yes, right?
Yeah, so we don't know what happens in Stormlight 5.
But he gets a little chastised in Stormlight 4 by Hoyd.
Yeah, but him and Hoyd have
does.
a weird relationship already.
Yeah, they do.
So
to
this
me,
is
it
my
kind of felt
long-term-
like he was trying to do better, but still doesn't trust enough people to like give away all his secrets.
Well, no, of course not, because that's if there's anything about Kelsier, it's that he is a man of dichotomies. He is the survivor, but he has died. He is someone who likes to trust people, but he also keeps secrets from them. He's someone who was willing to sacrifice himself for the goal, but also can't let himself die because it's just not who he is.
Because then no one would do the work that needs to be done, and
well, he has control issues as well. Like
he has to do it himself.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of what I was talking about when I was saying, is Kelsier right? Because he literally calls out Sazed at the very end of the book.
I love
dude,
that
how
scene.
could you let this happen, Sazed? This was almost the end. Lead us into a new technological age. Help us find ways. We need Alamancers like the olden days. And I was siding with Kelsier on that one.
So
I was like, dude, we do need.
Sazed straight up lied to him, right?
Yeah,
about Lerassium, right?
Yeah, he did.
Well, because this is why this scene is so beautiful.
I love this scene.
We
too.
love
I
we
love
love
it so much.
Sazed. We love
Yeah, we do.
Kelsier. And these two men love each other. They are friends from a very long time.
Right.
And from an area, they're in short supply. At the same time, can we trust Kelsier? No one should trust Kelsier. Kelsier doesn't trust Kelsier.
He's straight up contemplating whether or not he needs to kill Sazed. And
he is.
Like,
but should we trust Sazed? No, he's falling to the powers that he's took
falling
up.
powers of ruin. Yeah.
And it's you just go through it and you're like, neither of these men who want to trust each other can trust each other. Both these men have very good reasons for what they do.
Right.
And that's what makes it so interesting, is because that's where the tension lies. It's this gray area that is just chef's kiss gorgeous.
I know, it's so good.
All right, guys, I need you to refresh me on what Kelsier did in Stormlight Archive 4 because I can't remember.
He kills a lot of people.
He does not.
Okay,
He does not do a single thing. He doesn't know. This is the thing. Kelsier projects like he's got all this power. He's in control. It's clear he's not micromanaging them whatsoever.
What's the guy's name? The other Ghost Blood?
The one in
Maraise.
Maraise,
right?
The one with the chicken.
So
yes,
So Maraise kill. Yeah, that's never explained in Stormlight 4. Maraise kills that other guy.
Yeah, and
who has a bird, and Lift ends up with that bird.
Darn straight she does, because
so she's so okay. So I need to read that book, because now I keep wondering how having the bird and being a radiant is going to mix magics, and
who knows?
But I don't know how. I need to read the book.
Wait. Are you saying you think this is like Six of the Dusk type of bird?
Yes.
We know it's a Six of the Dust type of bird.
We do? Qualify that. Qualify that.
Yes, you dummy. Of course it is.
Shut up.
No. So here's the thing. So here's the tell. First of all, you got to remember a couple things about Roshar.
They don't have birds.
Yeah, they don't have birds. They have chickens. And so literally anytime they see a bird, they call them chickens every single time. But if you listen to the description of the bird that Maraise has on his shoulder and that Lift adopts, it's clearly one of the AVR, but they don't have a word for anything that's a bird that isn't a chicken. So they just call it a chicken, which has led to my favorite meme, which a little girl looking at this, this entire flock of ducks. Look at all these chickens.
That's the best. I love that video so much.
I guess my dumb brain was just like, oh, it sounds like a parrot, and I didn't like look into
another
that.
one that's
looks like
important in Roshar is most everyone on that planet has epicanthic foals, so they look Asian if we were to judge them.
Right.
But that's the norm over there. So when they see someone from another planet, they say, "Oh, their eyes are too wide. They look Shin," because the Shin are the ones with those eyes, because they're the ones who are transplants. So if you see someone,
So
if you see someone, what?
I think it was Siri.
No, for some reason, Siri decided I was talking to her. Well, you were talking to her. Anyway, I'm sorry. Stupid.
Okay, I was like, what did Anthony just say?
Siri, text boat.
We weren't even talking about Warbreaker. So.
That's right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and so Brandon does these cool things because he plays with the fact what everyone sees as normal on their planet, and a lot of times that's how you can spot something that's world hopping.
That's off.
It just looks a little bit off, and
So
so
cool.
eyes that are too big, or someone with some dark tones of skin on Scadrial, they're like, oh, they must have some Terrace blood in them, and it's like, oh no, there's people with darker tones of skin all over Scadrial because it only comes from Terrace blood for them. If they say someone might be Terrace blooded, you're like, oh, okay, this might be a world hopper, which is what makes when Shai shows up, and it's like, whoa, her eyes are almond shaped. They don't have that there. And so she can't blend in anywhere on Scadrial. Yeah. She has to wear hats and stuff to hide because she way stands out. It's such a good attention to detail on Brandon's part.
Well,
it's really cool. So there's so many Easter eggs in 4. Like they use the I'm assuming it's sand from White Sands that they're using to test the Stormlight resonance or whatever investiture. We haven't met. No, there is a character from White Sands that's in Stormlight, isn't there? The professor.
You mean Chris?
I don't remember.
Chris is definitely
because Chris has shown up in Era 2 of Mistborn because she dances with Wax in Bands of Mourning.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if we saw anyone from White Sands in this book. I'd have to double check.
I think the person writing the Arcanums, not what the things.
Yeah, the Ars Arcanum.
The Ars Arcanum in the back of every book, that's written by a character from White Sand, who's a I can't remember her name. Yeah,
Chrysalia, I think is her full name.
But I'm pretty sure she shows up in Stormlight somewhere. Maybe not.
Could be wrong.
Well, there are definitely like notes from her in the picture.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Naj, her assistant.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I guess I need to go back and reread Six of the Dusk now. It's been far too long. It didn't even click. I saw the bird and I was like, sounds like a Shinavarian creature. I mean, like they.
Yeah.
I think I just quickly didn't make any sort of other connection because I'm like, well, we know that there's a lot of stuff in Shinovar that isn't on present.
Look, you're not alone. I didn't make that connection when I was reading it. It was only after every time I read a book, I then go to the like TV tropes and stuff, which was how I learned that because I listened to the audiobooks and I'm like, man, why is TV tropes talking about this Jasna character everywhere? And then that's Yesna? That's how that's spelled?
That's right. Yeah. The exact same thing happens to me because I also primarily listen to the audiobooks. So yeah, the way people pronounce different names, I get lost.
The one that blew me away was when I finally saw how like Elantria names, because actually Elantris I read and then had the audiobook later. And when I heard how they were pronounced, I'm like, why are they talking? This is like the Key and Peele Aaron sketch, because that's how the names are supposed to be pronounced.
Right?
It's insane.
No, I will.
I actually hated how Kaiyan's name is supposed to be.
Yep.
I was like, that sounds so stupid.
Wait, what?
That's how you Kaiyan.
In Elantris, you are supposed to pronounce every single vowel as a long vowel, and if it's a double vowel, you pronounce both of them. So it's not K-I-I-N is Kai-ein.
Oh.
That's
man.
Okay.
So wait. Okay, how do you say the main guy's name then? Because I always said it Rayoden.
Hey,
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm talking about.
that's my co-host. That's Bill right there. The man.
Thanks for joining us.
If
I
the
love
Sanderson, if I was Spider-Man, he is the spider that bit me on this path.
Oh man, so good.
Yeah, sorry I added an S in White Sand.
Yeah. Know your sin. No,
I do it all the time, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I've talked about this before on this show, but not with this audience or not with this company. That I'm assuming since you don't read fantasy, you haven't read The Wheel of Time.
I have not, because that is a tough nut to crack.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's worth it. It's a tasty nut once you get the shell open. But the worst experience, because I read the audiobooks because I had
You
like
read them.
physical. I read the audiobooks. Yes, it counts as reading. Thank you very much. At the time I had a job where I was doing very menial tasks I didn't need to pay attention to. It was just physical labor, and so and music got boring after a while, so I started doing audiobooks, and so I read all the Wheel of Time that way. And literally the worst experience I had, I was like 8 books in to the series, right? And I finally realized that they were talking about 2 different things that are pronounced the same way. So there's a country in the Wheel of Time called Eridoman, and the people from that country are called the Domani people. But then there's another civilization that uses magic people as slaves, and they imprison them. And when they take a magic person and turn them into a slave, they're called a Domani. They're spelled differently, but pronounced identical. And it was messing me up so much. I was like, wait, these people didn't have, why are the Shan-Chan on the other part? They're not supposed to be here, but they're talking about Domani. And I finally dawned on me that they were 2 different things. That I was like, oh, I have to recontextualize 8 books now.
Back to the Lost Metal a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
I have to admit that, like, when suddenly all these like hemolurgists started,
really good.
Oh crap. Oh. Yeah. When all these hemolurgists started showing up, I was just like, there's no way that like they kidnapped enough people for this to happen. They've got to be like breeding them and then using the children for this. And I was just like,
it's been set up since book 1.
It was so good. It was such a good read. Oh man.
Yeah.
And I love how they tied in book 1 with book 4, like where all these missing people went and why, they've never been found, and all those it's so good. They were just straight up lied to.
Yeah.
With movie magic.
Crazy. I got some dystopia vibes, because like kind of what
I think he got
people.
lucky. I don't think that was his plan, because he straight up said like he restructured the whole series and had to rewrite book 2, because book 1 wasn't on purpose, and then he started writing a sequel because everyone loved it, and then got halfway through, had to start a new project, and then when he came back to it, it didn't work right, so he had to completely scrap it and start over and decide where he wanted the series to go for 2 and 3, and then with 4 he's like, hey wait, I talked about all these kidnappings. Guess what we're gonna put in? I think he got really I
maybe
don't.
so.
I
but even
do
then,
not
he did it
think
so
that it was
well.
planned. I don't think it was planned.
That's fine.
I think it was.
But he still did it.
Planned.
He did
He's
it
an
really
outliner.
Well. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
But this is the benefit of someone like Brandon having the team that he has. He has continuity editors, and he's trying to figure out, okay, what promises have I not delivered on? And when you've delivered on so many promises, it's you have to. You're just like, I don't know if you. It's like when someone's a good like improviser, you don't know what was planned and you don't know what was in the flow of the moment. You can't tell the difference, and it's like, I don't think it's luck, but that's just because Brandon's used to picking up his own pieces and then trying to put it back together in an interesting way.
Absolutely.
Or if it wasn't luck, I think he had a different intention for the kidnappings and didn't realize that's what he was going to do.
I mean, look, go with Stormlight Archive. I mean, book 3 was supposed to be the Zeth flashback books,
right?
And he's like, this isn't working, and so he had to start over and make it the Dalinar ones, because that's just what worked. He changes his plans on the fly all the time.
How did you feel about the flashbacks for book 4?
Oh, let me tell you, Anthony. Anthony, take it away. Anthony will explain it very well.
I don't know if I have anything to say on that. I was just going to say, wow, we're just rehashing stuff we've already heard, and not with any additional information other than context. Yeah. I was kind of disappointed, to be honest.
After book threes was so good. Oh, I love Dalinar's.
Yeah,
Dalinar's flashbacks. Well, coming from that and then going to book 4 was very underwhelming.
The other thing that was unexpected is they don't even show up to like the third section of the book.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, that was
Well, and they're not even all hers, because a lot of them are for Esh and I.
Yeah, they were. It was half and half for Esh and I and
Venley.
And so
Venley.
It's the first time I've had something in a book where I was like, it kind of let me down.
If I'm not wrong, I believe he gave an explanation, and it was that he realized he hadn't given us enough of the of their culture for us to be invested in them for the last book. In the first 3 books, it's mostly just focusing on the humans, right? And we get a little bit of stuff for I'm having a blank. What are the
Parshendi?
Parshendi. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what he said. He said, like, I realized I needed to give you a reason to care about the Parshendi.
I just wish you would have given me more of a reason to care.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Give me a little bit more lore. Because
it was good world building, but for me, it didn't really tie into the rest of the story like the other flashbacks have.
Yes, that was the problem.
Well, and I think this is because he has kind of had to piecemeal some of this together, and I think it's similar to the issue of Elantris, where it's like, all right, we're gonna go Raiden, Serene, Wraithen, Raiden, Serene, Wraithen, and once you've sort of locked yourself into a specific structure, sometimes. So it's like coming to the edge of a map in a video game. You see the seams where it's not real anymore, and it pulls you out of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, it's not everything can be Emperor's Soul. So
that's right. Oh, man. I'm figuring that out right now. Like I said, I'm reading that for the first time, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I still can't believe he wrote that kind of as just on a lark. and I think it's like his best, like the actual prose is like the best he's done.
It's really so good. I can't express how much I like that book. It was also cool to see a different magic system on the same planet that felt completely connected. You're like, I get that this is like a translation thing, and that these are just 2 cultures on different sides of the same planet who've interpreted the magic in different ways and done different things with it. It was super cool. It just felt super natural.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of that other culture, when the Bands of Mourning show up, if I can trumpet something, what do you guys? I have an answer for it, but
before 3,
what do you guys think? What do you think is going on with the bands?
I think.
Why are they drained?
I think Hoyd drained them.
Hoyd?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. That's not where I was thinking.
Because he wanted? Because he wanted?
No, I think he stole what was with. I think he stole them.
So, Baggins Wolf in chat, Bill, my co-host, he's come up with
you just want to
he has a prediction.
You want to link to the stream? You can jump on if you want.
Yeah, so I'll lay out his theory because I like it's called the cover bands theory. He didn't call it that. I called it that, and he hates it. But so
this is his theory. I'm going to name it this name he hates, but
yes,
it is.
And we've been roommates for like a decade at this point. I'm baked into the cake. It's a rough experience. So we have the Bands of Mourning. What are we going to do with them? Well, if we don't use them, suddenly we have a problem because there's all this tension because you basically have a nuke that only one side can have at any time. Mm-hmm. So you suddenly it's drained, and she's like, he knew it was drained somehow. How did he know that? Now, for any sort of metal mind to work, you have to both know it's a metal mind and it has to have something in there, and you can't really tell the difference between a drained metal mind and a non-metal mind.
Right. You have to have intention.
So if you were to steal the bands of mourning, how would you do it? The best way to do it would be to make an exact duplicate copy of it that looks exactly the same, and then people wouldn't know the difference if it was drained or not.
Right.
But to do that, you would have to have someone on your team who is a master at making exact duplicates of exact things. Maybe a forger, like Shy. Now, let's say, hypothetically, you are Kelsier and you have made the bands of mourning for a specific purpose, for whatever reason that is. But now there's all this tension between the North and the South. What is the best way to diffuse that tension? To take the toy away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That could be it.
And so that was Bill's entire theory. And when he came up with it, I was like, "Did you read that on Reddit?" He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Put that on Reddit. That is good."
Yeah, that is pretty good.
So you're saying that you think the general guy was just removing the evidence of
basic, because we know Kelsier has a good relationship with the Southern Scadrians. I mean, he's kind of a godlike figure to them, but in a completely different way than he is to the Northerners, because Kelsier that's just the style he rolls with. The quote I always say about Kelsier is, you either live long enough to become the hero, or you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and Kelsier is going to try and do both.
Yes, he is. I totally agree with that. I love that. Yep.
Yeah.
He's like the America First candidate, right? Of Scadrial.
Yeah,
He's the Scadrial first. Like he wants what's best for Scadrial, and he doesn't really care.
He's a national isolationist.
Yes.
And if you go with that sort of mentality, what's the idea? How do I keep my planet safe? Well, the best way to keep my planet safe is to make sure we have the biggest guns.
Yeah.
And he's looking out into, like, when we get his perspective, he's looking out into the stars, and all he sees are potential threats because of what happened in Mistborn's secret history. He was like, "Oh my goodness, there is an entire game being played out here, and we almost lost an entire planet because we didn't know it was being played."
Yeah.
So he's now, as paranoid as he was before, he's now uber paranoid.
Mm-hmm. And even calls out and says, he's like, "We need Allomancers like the olden days."
Yeah, or allies.
The Resium. Yes, or allies, yes. And is he right? Is he right?
Here's the question.
On some level he is, but at the same time, Sazed's like, he may be right, but I ain't trusting this Yahoo with Lorasium.
Right.
What were you going to say, Anthony?
Here's a question. So one of the things that went through my mind when Kelsier was saying, "Hey, you know this information, you can just help us make the progress quickly." Do you think he's potentially going to end up using that as a way to keep some of the existing characters while jumping forward in progress?
How do you mean?
So far, we've just had to wait for. We've basically left big gaps of time. So the first series, it's several centuries later, but now with Kelsier's
we've got 3 carryover characters.
Well, but now what I'm saying is Kelsier's point, hey, you have this information, you can just give it to us right now so that we can fight back. Kind of makes me wonder if maybe, what if he does end up doing that? And
instead of a time jump is what you're saying.
Instead of a time jump, yeah. So 10 years.
Oh, for Era 3 that was supposed to be Era 2?
Suddenly we've made all these advancements and people are still alive.
We know Era 3 is 1980s sort of level tech. And where they are at the end of this is sort of turn of the 20th century tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it sprinkled around a bunch of weird spots because things go out of order when you have magic. But so we're looking at somewhere between a 50 to 80 year tech gap if it was by mundane means. You could definitely see with both magic and maybe divine intervention, you could cut that down in half, and maybe we're seeing the adventures of Maxilium Ladrian with his sister Tindwell.
Yeah.
Which, for the record,
that'd be cool.
If Wax is in it, he needs to be an old man.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
But for the record, Max is the cutest thing that has ever been in the Cosmere.
I totally agree.
I will murder everyone.
Yeah.
I totally agree. No, he was a charm.
Yeah, he's cute.
Yeah, I was kind of curious because at the end,
I love
Wax is
Steris.
like-
Go on.
huh?
Oh
Go
yeah,
on,
Steris is
sorry.
great. Yeah.
Just thinking of Max, I was thinking about how much I love Steris, but you were making a
Oh
point.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I
yeah.
interrupted.
Steris is amazing. Anyway, but at the end, Wax was like, "Oh, you're gonna run for governor, aren't you?" To Marcy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm surprised that he would give us that tidbit and then like we never get to see it hypothetically.
Well,
You
she's
know.
younger than him, so we might be able to see it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Although
That-
wasn't the third trilogy going to be like space like
No.
very
No,
sci-fi?
Era
So
4.
yeah,
4 is.
yes and no.
Oh.
This era wasn't supposed to exist.
Okay, yes. Okay, yes.
So era 2 was supposed to be like steampunk 1980s, right? Kind of, and then era 3 is supposed to be sci-fi, but now there's an extra era. So it's era.
Okay.
So era 2 is era 2 is this one, which is steampunky western, and then so era 3 is going to be more modern technology, and then 4 is going to be the sci-fi one.
All right.
Oh
Sounds
man,
exciting.
I'm so excited for.
Well, just
real.
kind of be curious if he's going to use that as a way to carry over some of the existing characters.
I
Because
think you might be right.
I think you're right, Anth, because
I think
especially
they
when
kind of implied that we need to speed it up or we're screwed.
Yeah, on the subject
exactly.
of
Exhibit A.
sorry. On the subject
Before you
of
guys get started
Steris-
on that real quick, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt.
Okay. No, you go.
It is 10:30 here, and I have a long
Yes.
drive ahead of
Oh,
me tomorrow,
no.
so I need to head out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so we are the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmic Studies. Just look up Cosmic Studies. We'll be having our next episode where we'll be covering the state of the Sanderson tomorrow. So if you guys are interested,
Sweet.
Oh yeah, we'll tune in.
Oh, I'll
we'll be-
definitely check it out.
Yeah.
so you can find us over on both Twitch and YouTube. Same thing, Cosmere Studies.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much for
Thank you so
joining
much,
us. It's
Jordan.
been a
It's
blast
good to meet
talking.
you.
This has been a ton of fun. I hope
Agreed.
to do it again sometime later.
Yeah,
See ya.
you're welcome
Bye.
back if you
Safe.
ever want to come on.
Thank you.
So
Well, we will. We'll drive
Okay.
very, very
Good.
safe. I drive
Good.
like a grandma.
okay, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
So I was
Um,
just gonna say, sorry, about Steris. You know how she got hired to make all those emergency plans and
Yes.
stuff?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I bet that we are going to see those plans. Like, people are gonna be like, these plans are so amazing. They were made years ago by this genius. You know,
Ooh,
It's like I
I
just,
could totally see
I
that.
love
That'd be
it.
awesome.
Yeah, well, I think he'll save
We
it for
have
like
to.
era 4, right? And they're in space on a
Ooh.
spaceship, and so it's like, oh, we have this asteroid coming in. Pull out the Steris protocol. Like,
yeah, it's so awesome.
He does that all the time. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited for Era 3 though.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
ready.
excited. I wasn't expecting this book, so I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting it to be as crazy as it was, and it was so much fun. And yeah, when I was reading it, I was like, this is better than the Avengers movie, right? There's so many things that are just like crossing over and cool powers mixing that, like, if this ever goes to screen, like, people are gonna die.
So
I agree.
here's a question: if you had to choose first era or current second era, only
To be
one
added-
could go and be a movie.
Oh,
Like, which would you choose?
First Era.
First.
Sorry.
that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
One.
it's
For sure.
What?
Lisa, are you on Team Era 2?
Maybe.
Really?
To be honest, I read Era 1 when I was like 13, so I need to reread it, and
It's
maybe
good.
then my opinion would change.
This
So.
this series is more fun. Era
would
1 is
be-
more poetic.
Yes.
heavier. But
Era 2 would definitely be
True.
a bit like an easier adaptation to.
That's what that was my thought.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you there. But I'd still like to see
It'd be
Era
fun
1.
to see either one. If we only get one, like, I won't complain. But I mean, it's just Sanderson is just this gold mine of, like, everyone was trying to copy the MCU, and everyone failed at doing it.
Mhm.
And now the MCU is failing at the MCU. Like,
It's so good.
Sanderson is the answer to
Yep,
all of that.
I agree.
I would love to have a Cosmere cinematic universe. It'd be cool
Oh,
to see there.
please.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff. How did you guys like? I feel like we haven't talked enough about Stormlight 4 because I just recently finished it. That's probably why you guys want to talk about Lost Metal and I want to talk about both.
Let's go. I'm a little rusty on that one.
How do you think Rhythm of War ranks it with the other 3 books?
With the other 3 books?
I think it might be probably my least favorite of them, but
really? Okay.
For a number of reasons. So I don't know.
We obviously all agree the flashbacks didn't work as well.
Yes,
we do.
Yes. I felt like the pacing was especially weird in this one.
I agree with that.
Okay. I disagree.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts then. I don't know. For me, there were a couple things that I felt like he didn't talk about that I wanted him to talk about, and then other things that he spent too much time on. So I knew, for example, that he was really trying to develop Kaladin's depression. Like, and I think I maybe was not paying enough attention to that meaning behind those chapters to really appreciate them, but they went on and on and on. Wandered around Urithiru moping, and I'm just like, get on to something. Anyway.
See, that's why I liked this book. You're saying the same thing.
You're
saying the same
yes,
thing.
you are.
For me, Rhythm of War is my second favorite.
Oh, wow.
Well, the first book is the best.
I agree. That's what I was going to say.
And this one is the second best. And then 2 and 3, I don't know. They're both great, but I don't know which one's better. They're about the same. Probably 2 than 3. Or 3 and then 2.
I would put 3 and then 2.
Maybe 3 and then 2. They're both pretty good. Okay, but I'm a Kaladin simp. Okay,
me too.
I am too. He's my boy, and book 1 is literally just literary perfection. With like his arc and his flashbacks tied together so well, and then his sacrifice at the end of like, hey, I could be free, but there's a guy who needs help, and I don't even know who this dude is, and so I'm going to throw all my plans, not even all my desires, my whole crew. I'm going to ask them to give up their whole lives, and we're going to go help out this dude because we have a bridge.
That's why book 1 is my favorite.
Yeah,
because that moment right
literally
there.
that moment is like the greatest. Like that's better to me than like the ending of the Fellowship of the Ring. Like it's they're almost there, right? But that's the moment where Aragorn, confronts where Aragorn talks to Frodo and says, I would have gone with you the whole way.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Which is my favorite moment of the movie.
Yes. Mine as well.
Like I would have gone with you to the end. And then the bridge thing is even better than that. So I loved book 1 and I loved book 4 because it was kind of just another Kelsier book.
Kaladin, you mean?
Whatever.
I get those two mixed up all the time.
I simp for this man.
Kaladin. Yeah, I love this one because it was a sequel to the first book, in that like it showed and it wasn't the same. It wasn't a rehash. It was a progression of his depression, and ultimately like his story arc is basically over of him like acceptance and healing from it.
Yeah, that whole arc was a surprise to me in book 4. When Dalinar walks up to him and he says, I think you need to retire. I was like, what? That is not where I thought this book was going to go.
That's not what anyone wants. We want him to do
I want Kaladin to
fight. We want him to
coolest
fight
everybody.
everybody.
But now you're telling him to retire. What's going on here? Anyway.
No, it worked. It worked so. It was unexpected, and
I
was surprised at how much I loved it, and I loved the arc. With him jumping off the tower, not knowing if he can save his dad.
Yes,
and it was just absolutely beautiful. And I completely disagree on the pacing. I thought the book was paced and structured extremely well, with the exception of the flashbacks. In that, it really sets everything up in the first couple chapters. and you kind of get, they have a plan, and it's not going to go the way that they think. And then the whole sequence with like Navani's story arc was freaking awesome.
Okay,
And it was literally like this is what people read his books for. And we got like a whole section of the book of Navani. Hey, I'm going to play with the science and tell you how it all works. It was freaking cool. Okay.
I will say I will say the Navani parts were
It was freaking cool.
It was so
parts
cool.
were just plain enjoyable. So I don't know. I mean, I will say this also. I feel like Rhythm of War has the single most emotionally beautiful scene of any of the books he's ever written.
What scene?
The part when Kaladin has like the vision with Ted and I'm forgetting his brother's name.
Oh, right.
Crap.
I'm spacing his name right now too, but I know you're talking about.
Why can't I think of it all of a sudden?
Starts with a T, right?
It does start with a
Somebody
T.
in the chat, help us out.
Wow. I can't believe I can't remember this. Anyway,
Ian.
that was very good. And
Ian.
I will have to say,
Ian.
I've lost so
Ian.
much. What?
Tian.
Oh, Tian.
Tian.
I was
Tian.
right about the T.
Tian.
Tien, yeah. Anyway, I thought that scene was the best that he's written, and I don't know. Maybe I just need to go back and reread it. I know there are times when I feel differently about a book at a later time. But
I can see why you'd like be frustrated with like that section, but I kind of feel like that's why it's good, because depression isn't something that goes away just because you're tired of it.
Yeah,
So-
Anthony.
No. Stop that.
that's not what I'm saying.
Anthony's the kind of guy that pats you on the back and says, there, cheer up, bud.
No,
Oh,
he's
God.
not. No, I'm saying that the frustration is like the frustration you feel in reading it, I feel like is like reasonable. And I think it's kind of even maybe you could say trying to evoke that in you, because that's how frustrating it feels to like be dealing with depression, be like, I don't know why I'm sad today. Gosh, freaking dang it, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
It was so well written.
yeah.
I loved the claustrophobia too of them being stuck in the tower. And,
Oh, yeah.
And we don't even hear anything about Dalinar. Like it's just like this isolation, and then the nodes are
No
slowly going
communication.
down, and it's just this impending doom, which is clearly affecting his freaking depression. And it was so good. I liked it.
All right. I'll try it again and see if I can come around to your way of thinking.
That being said, I do need to reread book 3 though, because so much happens in that book that there are a lot of stuff that I don't remember. Like books 1 and 2 are kind of similar in scope, like it's the same story, and then book 3 just goes like, here's all the rest of the stuff, and then book 4 is like, okay, we're turning it back, pulling it back a little bit.
But book 5, 10 days.
10 days.
That's the entirety of the book, right?
Pretty much.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's gonna be 10 days. It's not gonna be any more than that.
So Dalinar's plan is that he's going to be his own champion. But that's obviously not going to go to plan, right?
I
Can't
doubt
go to
it.
plan. It's got to be. Here's the thing: if anything happens to Kaladin, I will be very upset.
I think we talked about this. Kaladin cannot be the one that causes Roshard's doom.
No. Said who the Bad Boys champion is yet? Probably not, right?
No.
Odium's champion. Oh, I loved the twist with Odium.
I loved that too.
Taravangian.
I loved it.
I loved it, but I hated it because I hate Taravangian.
Yeah, we all hate Taravangian. He all scares the crap out of us.
So well written.
Yes.
So good.
Otherwise, I wouldn't hate him so much.
What's great is even in that moment, like he's trying to do good, and then he gets the power, and he's overcome by like it was that one conversation that he has with Dalinar, where Dalinar says, "No, you like being in charge. Like I get that you're trying to do good, but you can't say that you don't like being the one who knows everything. And it was that it's that hubris that once he's in control of Odium, that passion, he realizes he's not we realize that he's not the virtuous man that he believes himself to be. And now he's going to be way worse than Odium was.
Oh man, that just
That's
terrifies
so
me.
good.
Who is his champion going to be? Like, oh my word, it could go
Gonna be
so
Lift.
bad. It could be, yes, that's true. It could be Lift.
I'm so curious to see how Lift's powers are combined with aviary stuff, which I need to read so that I might figure it out.
I need to reread that
because she's already different from the other Knights Radiant because she doesn't need Stormlight.
Right.
She can
Well,
use
well,
light.
she-
she
light.
does. It's just that she can get it from food.
Right. Which she got from the Night Wolf, Steppenwolf, Night Mother, whatever.
Yeah.
I was distracted by Baggins Wolf. Isn't there a wolf? There's some kind of. Never mind. It's getting late.
I know it is getting late, but real quick, just on
Yeah.
the subject of like the short novels, this is a really big tangent. But I saw on the State of the Sanderson that he's going to make another book set in Threnody.
Threnody? Yeah.
And I'm excited. Have you?
Which one is that? Is that a
I
forest?
think that's Shadows for Silence.
Shadows for Forest
In the
of
Forest
Hell
of
in
Hell.
the silence of being of forests zombies.
Yeah, basically, yes. Have you not read that one yet?
No.
It's pretty good.
I get the
I haven't either.
no part.
Oh no, Steven.
I have not.
There's
I don't know what you're talking about.
Zombie returned.
It's
There's
really
a bunch of cognitive
interesting.
shadow zombies, and if you get bit by them, you turn into one. I don't know how the magic works on that one.
Super creepy book.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like,
okay, this is up
like
my
it was
alley.
it was really good, but also like I was like, oh my gosh, this is
What is this book
so
called?
different. The
So
vibes I got.
Shadows for Silence.
Shadows for
Forest of Hell.
silence in the forest of hell.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just a short story. Or
Yeah.
is it a no? It's a short story, not a novella.
It is a short story, and you guys should let me know what you think when you read it. 'Cause
So from what I know about it is that so there's zombies. They're cognitive shadows. It's the same thing as Returned from Warbreaker. So if you die and you're when you're heavily invested, it works differently on different planets. But on Warbreaker, is it Nalthus? Nalthus?
Yes.
I think you can come back as a returned, as a cognitive shadow. So in most of the worlds, it's your spirit, right? Your cognitive shadow will go on into the next realm, which is what we see happen with Ashonai in book 4.
Sorry.
Because she was heavily invested when she died, she remains in the world for a little bit as a cognitive shadow, but then ultimately she moves on. And the same thing happens to Wayne in Wax and Wayne 4 because he was heavily invested. But sometimes on different planets you can stay, that's what the returned are. They are cognitive shadows that can stay. And that's what Kelsier is. Because he was even more heavily invested when he died, and so he pinned himself to the world. he did, quite literally. He did.
Right through the eye.
And then so the zombies on Shadows of Silence in the Forest.
Shadows for Silence. So you could just call it that.
In the Hell Forest. The zombies they're basically that world's version of Returned cognitive shadows. But they don't look like zombies.
Are you asserting
He's
that, or
asking
are
a
you
question.
asking
No,
that?
I'm saying that. I'm saying that's what
Okay,
it is.
yeah. I could say that that's probably the case.
That is the case. It's confirmed.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
prob- it's not
There you
probably-
go.
That is the case. They are cognitive shadows.
I'm excited now. Then I'm gonna go read that.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of panels at Dragonstone. Okay.
Oh, it's so good. I really am going to
I'm
go
so
this
sad
year.
I missed
think,
that.
so.
It was quite fun. Quite fun indeed.
I'm going to save some vacation days.
When they're going to do it this year?
It'll be the same
week
month.
It'll be the same week as Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Like it normally is.
All right.
Well, guys, I got to head out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Super fun. Thanks for joining us.
But
guys.
no, loved it. Thank you so much for having us again. It was a blast.
Make sure to check out these guys' channel if you like video games and Nintendo stuff, and buy my hat. Buy my hat or buy the shirt.
It's a beautiful
buy this shirt. You can buy my stuff. It's too late for Christmas. You can still get it if you want it. If you want to stay warm for the winter. And we like Brandon Sanderson. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you guys next week when we go back to talking about TV shows. You guys have anything to plug? Anything else to say?
Keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy.
Keep it simple. Keep it nerdy.
Yeah. Keep it simple, nerd.
No. You gotta do it like Anna. Is it simple? Is it nerdy?
The answer is yes, or at least it should be.
It should
anyway,
be.
Yeah, come check
Thanks
us
for
out.
joining me.
We're on YouTube.
It was a super fun blast. We'll have to talk about Tress, and let's do 2 books, right? Let's give it some time. When is Project 2 comes out April.
April.
Yeah,
April
we can do
1st.
another one of these in April, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because one book is that's not enough to talk about. Also, I'm reading The Wheel of Time right now, so
again,
I can't. Well, because not the whole thing. I'm reading book 2 and probably 3 because the second.
Because season 2 is coming.
What's happening?
Season 2 of Wheel of Time is coming out, and I want to be refreshed on the book so that
you can know what to diss on.
Tear it a freaking new one.
I like it.
I respect that.
Yeah, I do respect that as well.
Okay. See you guys.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.